good morning. I hope you're all having a fine evening because it is nighttime in the US of A, and I don't know what other time of it is anywhere else, but whatever time it may be, you are watching the pre-drive of Safari Live. And well, it's David and I out on Wendy this morning on a very grey, cloudy day, but the clouds are quite high in the sky, so I don't think we're going to have too much rain. Ooh. Now, I wanted to all show you something. Look at my cup. Don't you think it is wonderful? It says Taylor on it. This is a Christmas present. Thank you, Emily and Graham. And then watch what happens when I turn it around. But I'm going to try and drive at the same time. Dun, dun, dun. But you can see I've spilt coffee everywhere. That says Australia. That is my nickname here because I'm actually Australian. Can you believe it? But yes, Australia. That's what they put on the cup. Oh, I've got to go down this road. Let's go. I think I've got to go down this one. We'll just go down here anyway. Right. Up we go. We're going to go back to Arathusa this morning. Hey, David, are you excited? And, well, we're going to go see if the... Ooh, no, that's the wrong kid. One tip of the day, if you're not drink and drive, even if it's coffee, it can be dangerous. Luckily, I'm not going very quickly, and I can just sort of bumble about over here. And we're basically going to head straight down the most western boundary of Arathusa and see if we can maybe pick up on Shadow's tracks. I suspect she would have crossed back over into Simbambili though. And then, of course, just listening to the radio very quickly. Very exciting. Brent has started the show and he's basically on a roll. Well, he hasn't started yet because you're still stuck with me. But hopefully he'll have something exciting to show you by the time we do start. Goodness, David, what's wrong with the wind? It's very strong, very, very strong this morning. And well, I've been singing most of the morning as well. Poor David's had to listen to me. Kirsty sneezed. She sneezed or did she cough into the microphone? She did something earlier. It was quite funny when we were doing it. It was a large cough because she almost choked on her coffee. Well, we're lucky she's all right, though. She's safe and sound. Kirsty's fine, so in case she started to panic, don't. David, yes. Do you feel like rapping this morning? David's actually very good at beatboxing. I discovered this. I didn't realize he had a secret talent. It's not just Brian and VM that can beatbox, but it's, I suppose, is it a cameraman requirement? Okay, that's quite nice. Beatboxing. So if you want to apply for a job at Safari Live and you want to be a cameraman, you must be able to beatbox. That is right on top of the list amongst other strange things that you need to be able to do. Just check here for footprints. And we did have rain last night, but not quite the deluge. And well, a little bit disappointing. I thought that we had a lovely thunderstorm. We all sat, well, not all of us, but some of us sat out last night and we watched the lightning. It was beautiful. But sadly, a bit of rain, not too much. I don't even think we had 5 mils of rain. The ground doesn't really look that wet at all. So maybe 2 mils. But I'm really just guessing right now, so don't take my word for it. David, I feel like I've missed my turn off. Not yet. No, I'm still good. Sometimes I did this yesterday with Brian where we were driving around and we were talking, and then I just did 2 laps and I drove the same roads twice basically, and we didn't even realize it. It was interesting. Over the mountain we go. Oh, I'm going to spill my coffee. Let me hold it. Oh no, not over my hand. But yes, that's the plan. Brent is a surprise for you, which you'll see hopefully in a moment. And we're going to Arathusa. And remember, if you want to subscribe, you are welcome to subscribe to the Safari Live page on YouTube, and then also press the little bell, highlight that, so that you get a notification every time we go live. But I'm going to stop talking now, and I will see you a little bit later.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
What a day to start Saturday Catterday with a beautiful big male lion. This is Safari Live. Ready.
Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Well, it looks to be Mfumo, the authority, one of the Birmingham boys. Looks like that wound on his face has opened up a little bit again. Has he been scrapping with the ladies? Or is he going to roar? Giving low contact calls. Sort of stick with him. Isn't this magnificent? Big male lion walking next to us. And my name is Brent. I've got Rian on camera, and that is Mfumo, the authority. And shake your head, big boy. So what a way to start the weekend. Saturday, Catterday, off to a bang with a Birmingham boy. Remember the hashtag safariLIVE on Twitter or questions@wildearth.tv if you'd like to send us any questions. Now he is moving to the north. I'm hoping he doesn't keep it up at this speed, because before the first half hour of show's up, he'll be away and gone to the north. Or he could turn to the east or west, is what we're hoping. A little sniff sniff and a scent mark. And he's giving me some good reversing practicing, and I was a bit my reversing left a little bit to be desired as I woke up this morning and left the carports. So obviously the lions knew I needed some practice. Now, Charlie says, Brent, this doesn't look like the same injury. It's too high up and it's swollen. Charlie, I think it's to do with the same injury. I think he might have got a few more maggots in it. And as you can see, that swelling under his eye. Now, one must remember that male lions are constantly full of nicks, scratches, holes and bite marks. It doesn't really affect them too much, but we will be able to see there if that swells up again and all the maggots cascade out again. You can definitely see the swelling there. Hey, big boy. Always in the wars. You can see almost every bush or whatnot that he comes across so far on this walk of his is scent marking. Except that one, because I tried to predict he was going to do it, so he decided to completely ignore me. Now, Mr. Authority, you are about to be snorted at. Something fierce. There's some impala behind me who've spotted him from a mile off. And there's one impala there. I can't see if there are any others. You can see that stance And 3, 2. Come on. Where's your snort? It's coming. Okay, don't snort. There we go. Now, a single impala is a bit of a stretch for a single male lion. Probably a bit too quick, and without other members of the pride to coordinate the hunt, quite difficult. So generally when male lions are away from the females on their patrols, as this gentleman is at the moment, if they do hunt, it's generally larger stuff. Looking at buffalo or hippo or giraffe. It's another favorite. Morning, Marianne. Marianne would like to know, is Mfumo fully grown? How big is he? How old? I would say so. He's over 6 years old now, and he's in his prime. He weighs probably just under 400 pounds or around 400 pounds, and he's not the biggest male lion I've seen, but he is a beautiful specimen. He's got that lovely mane that's starting to darken now, and as he gets older, it's going to darken more and more. That is the one place we really don't want him to go. Hopefully he just carries on parallel and doesn't drop down into the little ravine system that's here. There he is. He stopped there. I just want to see where he's going. That is not good. I'm not sure if there's a way down into the ravine around here, but we shall try. While we try to figure out where he's going, let's go say good morning to Taylor.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a not-so-sunrise safari, but that's always a good start when you cannot get your first sentence out correctly. Well, let's try that again. Good morning, and welcome to a not-so-sunrise safari, but it's still going to be a wonderful day, and especially the fact that Brent has started and found us a big male lion. Now, my name is Taylor, and on camera with me this morning, we've got David. Now, I don't know when I last saw a male lion. I think it was probably just before I went on my long vacation. So it'll be nice to see some screenshots. So remember, we haven't seen the Birmingham boys for quite some time. So take a couple of screenshots. It'd be nice to have a look at Mfumo's injury that I believe he has above his eye. And you can send them through. You can either hashtag safariLIVE on Twitter, or you can send those pictures through to questions@wildearth.tv. Right, David, I think this is us. I think this is our turn-off. Let's just check on the magic GPS. Let's wait for it. Wait for the little blue dot. This is us. Now, we're about to turn off into Arethusa. We're going to drive all the way down this road, down the boundary. So, David, you got your spotting eyes on this morning. And hopefully, I'm hoping, 2 days in a row coming here, maybe we get lucky. Well, again, because we got so lucky yesterday with Shadow. And, well, we're going to have a little scratch around and see if those lions... Oh, well, if we can pick up on Shadow too, that would be wonderful. Maybe they come across the boundary. So I'm going to take it easy along this road to make sure that I don't miss anything. It's very, very easy to miss tracks out here. Especially because the road is not very sandy. It's quite hard. There's quite a bit of stone in it. Oh, look at this. I'm gonna go stealth mode here, but there's a big kudu that's just woken up. Good morning, mister. Don't run away, it's okay. Look at him. Hello, big boy. Shame. That's what I look like first thing in the morning. You can see he's trying to stretch. He hasn't quite woken up just yet, and it's still quite dark out here, so he's allowed to have a couple more minutes of sleep. Hello, big boy. He is a rather large kudu. I don't think we disturbed him too much, though. I'm sure he was getting ready to wake up as the chorus of the birds is just starting to start, and I couldn't imagine, well, I can't sleep past them when they get going. The first thing that wakes me up, not that it's a bad thing, it's quite nice to have the birds waking you up first thing in the morning. It's a very pleasant sound. Bye-bye, Mr. Kudu. He didn't want to stay for too long. Perhaps it's because he hasn't quite got ready for the day, and maybe he needs to get dressed and put his face up. Ooh, the radio has just started. Let's see what's happening out here. Oh, I've also got to check. Sorry, I'm going to be checking my GPS because I am driving right on the boundary, so I just want to make sure that I don't go somewhere I'm not supposed to go. Right. Look, I think I should be safe. Let's just check here. Right. Put that back down again. Anything yet, David, on your side? Nothing. David says he hasn't seen anything just yet. I wonder if we're going to have a bit more luck than we did yesterday with all the various mammal species, because we didn't see any elephants. We only really just saw impala yesterday and a couple of buffalo. And maybe this wind will die down and it will get a little bit better. That's what I'm telling myself anyway. Ooh, it's starting to drizzle, David. Little bit of rain coming down. Not too much, though. Not quite enough for us to put our rain covers on. It could just be this cloud that we're passing under. It's more like a mist. It's quite nice, actually. You know those misting fans that you get and ones that you spray yourself? Somebody got one of those as their Christmas present. I can't remember who, but they weren't using it correctly. Oh, it was James. Hey, yeah. So James got the fan, the misting fan, but like I said, he didn't use it like he was supposed to use it. But that's exactly what it feels like right now. Just a couple of little drops, a bit of wind. It's quite refreshing. Oh, an impala. Ah, first mammal for us, for David and I, but they're racing away from us. Come back, impala. There they go. Let's see. We'll stop up ahead and see if we can get a view. Hello, where did you go? No, still running. They're darting off, you can see. And it's, oh, you might be able, let me get up ahead. Sorry, it's a male chasing a female around. Let's see if we can get another view of them. I think they've stopped. Bit tricky through all the branches. You can see he's settled down for the moment. I think that female has managed to get away. It's quite bizarre that he's chasing her around at this time of the year. Maybe she actually just got a bit too far away from the herd, and he's trying to coax her to go back into it. But I don't see the rest of them around. She's veered completely off track. Right. Now, David, even having this little sprinkle of rain, we weren't supposed to get any rain today. I checked all the weather applications and forecasts and things like that, and they said that we weren't going to get any rain today. But this does count as rain, doesn't it? It does count. I think it counts as rain, a little spit. Finally, now the sand is getting a little bit softer, which is good for us. And because we didn't have so much rain, and the rain that we had was quite early, it was really sort of straight after drive after we left you, well, last night for us, but it was in the morning for all of you if you're watching from the northern hemisphere. And Well, I don't think it would have destroyed the tracks too much, because it wasn't for very long either. By the time I'd gone to bed, it had sort of stopped. It was a tiny little pitter-patter on the ground. But we'll keep checking termite mounds on the ground up the tree, just to make sure that nothing is hiding from us. I don't know if anybody else does this. I must actually ask James. So, because James and I used to ride horses, every time I go over these little bumps in the road. Basically, I count strides between the bumps on the road, which sounds ridiculous, but when you're riding and you're jumping especially, you used to have to make sure that you had the right amount of strides to get to the next jump, so that your horse didn't have to jump too far away or too close or run through the jump. David, you probably don't do that, but I do it in my head. Like, that one was about 10 strides. It's ridiculous. The things that go on in my head first thing in the morning is completely bizarre. Just checking, I think it was just a turtle dove that dashed into a guarri tree. Watch out, David. A little shrub there. Good morning, Michelle. Now, I don't know if it's the first question of the day, but it's definitely the first question for me. I'm just going to stop here. Michelle, I'll get to your question now and make sure that I'm not driving somewhere I shouldn't be driving. Open sesame. We were looking for the blue dot. Okay, that's good. Let's go this way. Right, we're going the right way towards the Nkuhumas. Now, Michelle, to get back to your question, which was, where are the Nkuhumas currently? The last thing I heard last night was that they were on Simbambili, but quite close to the boundary, at a spot called Boundary Pan. So we're basically going to head as close to that area as we can on Arethusa's traverse, and see if we can't maybe have a little look. Maybe they've come across, apparently they were on a buffalo kill, but I didn't hear if it was an adult buffalo, if it was a baby buffalo. So we'll have to go and have a little inspection. But it's quite nice though that Mfumo's come back, and I wonder where all of the Birmingham boys have been hiding. You're going to see, it's going to look a bit strange, but I'm going to pull off the side of the road occasionally and just drop my head over my shoulder. I just want to make sure, while the sand is quite nice and soft, to see if there's any, of course, to see if there's any footprints. We'll just go very, very slowly along here. And we're also coming up to the area where we last saw Shadow. So maybe we see her footprints darting over the road. Just double check again. It's going to probably just keep my phone out just like this, just so that I can have a look. There's not too much out here. Only footprints I've seen so far were a couple of zebra hooves on the ground. Not the greatest tracks, I'm afraid. Let's have another look over here. Right. No, nothing here. So, I believe there's a question about my horse riding. Now, Riss, you were wondering if I ever competed in horse jumping. Yes, that was the sport, one of the sports that I used to do. I wasn't too fond of dressage. I think I was too untidy for dressage and show jumping, because everybody used to complain about my hair coming out of my hat, and I can't help it. I must just let everybody know it's not intentional, but my hair has a mind of its own, and it does what it wants when it wants to. It does not listen to a hairbrush or hair clips or anything like that. It does it all by itself. So I used to just do show jumping, where I could get away with my hair being all over the show, and it was lots of fun. I jumped an array of different heights with my different horses. It was lots of fun, but sadly when you enter the guiding industry, this becomes your life, and it's not a bad life to be able to do what I do every single day. So sadly, I had to give up riding competitively, and while I don't have any horses anymore. Any moment, that does obviously not go with that sentence. I sold them all many years ago, about 5 years ago now. About 5 years ago, somewhere around there. Which is sad. One day, David, your water's creeping in on my lap. I'm fine, thank you. It's very heavy. I'm exhausted now from lifting that. Okay, we're coming to another junction. Where are we going? Oh, this is actually where we had shadow last night. I think I did say that earlier. Right, let's double check here. Nope. Okay, we'll go down this way then. And then we're almost at Boundary Pan, or where Boundary Pan would be in relation to the roads that we can drive on. Wait, what's happening here? So, now, there's a couple of little footprints around here, but unfortunately I can't really see what they are because the rain has rained on top of them. And while I try and decipher what we've got on the ground here, let's go back across to Brent and see what he looks like with his fancy new rain covers.
Yes, fancy rain covers indeed. We're getting some sort of misty-like rain. Unfortunately, that male lion managed to give us the slip as he went through that very steep ravine and while we were putting our rain covers on. But I am hoping we can catch up with him again. He's not roaring, so he's not making it easier for us, but we will try. I wonder if he's going to come out on Hyena Road. Just got to be on the game drive quickly. Morning, Rex. We had one Wanunangala on Gari Cutline. He went through into the Shkova, across the Shkova, heading towards Hyena Road. I'm busy trying to relocate on the other side of the drainage line now. Nothing yet. Taylor's checking that area. I'm going to see if I'm not sure where this one has gone, but I think he's going to pop out on Hyena Road. Sorry, guys. Loot. Okay. So Dan was wondering, do big cats have conflict with other big cats? Well, indeed they do. Lions being the top of the pyramid there. Almost all predators will have conflict with each other, and lions will kill leopard or cheetah or any other cat they come across, even a little serval or a caracal. And the same will go with the leopard if they have an opportunity to kill lion cubs or whatnot. It's all about competition and removing it. So yes, there is quite often conflict between the different big cats. Now, where has our male lion gone? I was hoping he would give us a roar, make it slightly easier for us to find him again. Now, he could have gone straight through, sort of making a beeline towards the area around Buffalo's Hook Dam on the other side. Or I think I've got a feeling he might have headed a little bit further to the north after he crossed the little river system. So I'm going to head back up towards the boundary, unless I spot him on Hyena Road here. Now, Diane would like to see his tracks when they're back on the road. Diane, it's going to be almost impossible for me to show you tracks at the moment unless he steps in some mud. The ground is very, very hard, and I'm looking at a ghost of a track is what I'm normally tracking it after the rains, and it rained a little bit last night, and so that actually compounds the earth. It makes tracking near impossible, and the tracks you are seeing are faint ghosts of tracks rather than those lovely clear pug marks we're seeing during the dry season. So if I do see one where he stood in the mud or he stood on a soft patch of sand, I will indeed show you, Diane. But I think a lot of the tracks, especially in the area we're working at the moment, are going to be pretty much invisible from the camera's point of view. I'm looking at slightly darkened scuffs in the sand, so very, very faint, fine stuff. So I came through the block and I ended up a little bit further south than where I think he was heading. Now, of course, I did that on purpose just to make sure he didn't sneak behind us, and so far it doesn't look like it. There's always a possibility that he's gone to snooze somewhere in those thickets around the river system, but we checked around where he crossed, so I think we're in the right zone. What I might do is, oh, hello little diker. He's running off. There we go. Hello little grey diker. Hoppity 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 skip and a jump. Now, diker is not a good indicator. They're one of the few antelope species they don't alarm at other creatures. So if they see a lion, they'll generally try to sneak off quite quietly rather than make a big noise like the impala. But there are some impala here. They've disappeared now. So that means the male lion could have bamboozled us and gone further to the south. Well, let's just keep checking a little bit. And if we get nothing over here, then we will head down Hyena Road towards Central. Hello, Fuzzman Sparkles. Fuzzman Sparkles would like to know, have I ever seen lion killing hyena and how many times? I actually have, probably about 10 or 12 times. There was a male lion in northern Botswana while I was growing up who had a particular dislike for hyena, a much bigger dislike than I've ever seen any other lions. I don't know, maybe he was harassed heavily during his nomadic period or when he was a cub, but he was not to be, if you were a hyena, he was bad news. He used to see hyenas from 800-900 meters away and stalk them and charge in and kill them with just a bite. The one morning we drove out of the lodge and driving down the road that heads down towards the Kwando River, and there were 7 dead hyenas along that road over about 3 kilometers that all were killed by that one male lion. He really didn't like hyenas. He was part of a coalition of 4, but the other 3 males, I mean, they didn't like hyenas, but they didn't actively seek out to kill all hyenas. Now that area also has an incredibly large hyena clan from genetic testing done from fecal samples and from actual darting of hyenas for research. It was estimated, or definite genetic samples of over 90 individuals, and that's of course not including the babies, so the clan was probably closer to 130, 140. Sometimes they'd have 4 or 5 active den sites. Incredible clan of hyenas, that. In the Sabi Sands, we have found one hyena that was killed by, we didn't see it, but we found hyena on Shabam Road that was killed by a male lion, but I think that was way back when. I think it was Matimba males who did that. Okay, maybe we managed to jump out of the block ahead of him. So I'm going to check Hyena Road, a bit further south from where we are. From where we were, sorry. And from where we are. While we keep checking the northeastern regions of Djuma, Taylor is far to the west of us on Arathusa, and let's go see how her endeavors are faring.
The boundary, and sadly it doesn't look like any lions have come across, so I went to basically exactly where boundary pan is in conjunction with the Arathusa boundary to Simbambili, but sadly I think that pan that they're at must have some water in, and there would be no need for them to go anywhere. If they've got food and they've got water, they're probably just going to hang around there, and I'm sure there's a couple of trees that will provide some shade for them. Not that they really need it today. Although the clouds look like they're thinning out a bit, hey David? You can see a little bit of blue sky popping out here and there, which is fantastic. Maybe we'll have a day like yesterday, where it started off a bit chilly and cloudy, and then it turned out to be wonderful the mid-afternoon, and then it went back to being windy and cloudy again, but that's okay. So we'll go along the boundary over here, and I think we'll go and check around the Arathusa airstrip and perhaps the more eastern sections of this area, and have a look. Maybe we pick up on some elephants, maybe a big herd of impala with lots of little ones that we'll be able to sit and watch. But for now, there's not much. Oh, who's here? A bird. I've got a bird, I've got a bird. Don't you fly. Don't you fly. There we go. Oh, we've got lots of birds. Are you looking for the flycatcher? I think it's a little bit to the right. Where is it? Ah, it was on the other tree, is it? Can we go a little bit closer? Let's see. Yes, it looks like it is a southern black flycatcher that's fluttering around over here from wattle to wattle. Now, the reason that I know it's a flycatcher and not a drongo is because it lacks the red eye and, of course, the very obvious fork in its tail. Now, what have you got in your mouth? Are you going to build a nest somewhere? Oh, there's the nest. Look, look, look. Hello, Starwish246. Now, I know you were wondering why it's so quiet out here. And, well, I think it's because it's so cloudy and that the birds haven't quite started off singing their chorus. You should be able to hear a yellow-billed hornbill clattering away in the distance. There's a pair. Oh, I'm getting so distracted, but look at this. We're going to move away from the hornbill. We have a pair of southern black flycatchers. And now they're obviously nesting in this dead silver cluster leaf. We saw this one come over with a bit of a twig, and it placed it obviously very carefully inside the hollowed-out trunk of this tree. That is incredible. I've never seen a southern black flycatcher nest. I actually don't even know what type of nest they must make. I would have assumed there's the other one, either the male or the female. I don't think there's any difference between the two. Oh, look how lovely that is. Get off, this is mine. But I thought that they would have made a cup nest of some sort, but it seems as though they use cavities of the trees. I must have maybe I'll get my little app out and I'll do a bit of research. But isn't that just amazing? Adding twigs, sitting on it, just checking to see if that's okay, if they can make it more comfortable. Isn't that just absolutely wonderful? Hello. Maybe it's looking for another twig to take back. Look, that's exactly what it looked like it was doing. No, I think you're going to have to find some pieces that are already on the ground. Isn't that just beautiful? Now you can hear the chorus. Turtle doves, yellow-billed hornbills. There was a crested barbet calling earlier. It seems as though they've all just started a little bit later this morning. That's okay. You're allowed to have a bit of a sleep in every now and then. What I'm going to do is, I don't think there's any eggs inside here. I want to have a little sneak peek as to what's actually going on inside over here. Now, you can see we've just pulled up. We're on the road next to this tree. And this is what they're using at the moment. It's obviously quite difficult to have a look inside. But right in the middle there, I think I'm going to go and poke my nose in there. I'm going to be back. Let's go have a little look. Have a very quick look. I don't want to go for too long. I'm going to sneak around the back because I've parked myself in the tree. Let's have a quick look. Very cool. Okay, so I'm just going to describe to you what's going on over there. Basically, there's no eggs inside there just yet. They're just layering the hollowed out cavity because it goes all the way down quite far, and well, they don't want to fall through. So they're basically almost making a platform. They're lining the hollowed out part of the tree trunk, and they're just laying lots and lots of sticks. And it's sort of just started, so I reckon they probably only just started working on it. I don't think it's been for very long. Should we go through the wattle, David? I'm scared. There's polyrhynchus ants. Okay, go. Okay. Was that good? Was I on form? Did I have my knees bent correctly? Good. Always got to bend your knees. Right. We'll leave those southern black flycatchers alone and let them carry on building their nest. That's very, very nice. My first southern black flycatcher nest. Now, speaking about birds, Soraya from New Jersey was wondering if the drought would have an effect on the bird population. And yes, it would. And the thing that will affect the birds the most is the lack of food that will be around. Because if you don't have any water, you're not going to have the trees producing enough fruits and producing their leaves, whatever, depending on what the bird may eat. And then, of course, we've got a woodlands kingfisher. Let's have a look. Go through the next gap. And then, of course, oh, it's so difficult. Can you get it there? Ah. Typical, as we said, that a bird flies away. And then the other thing is that, as you've noticed with all the rain that we've had over the last couple of weeks, is the abundance of insect life that has come about. And once again, that's providing a lot of food to a variety of bird species that are feeding on insects. So without the rain, you won't have any of those things, no food at all for the animals. Eventually, they would have to move out of their comfort zone and go to other areas in order to search for some food. So I think that maybe if the drought had continued, they would have probably delayed feeding or laying eggs, maybe something like that. Maybe the mating would have only happened later on because the animals would have been a bit too stressed. Oof, got to get the GPS out now. There's more than a fork in the road. There's 3 roads we can go on. Which one are we allowed to go on? I think we'll go on this one. Let's go here. But at least we haven't, the drought didn't continue. I'm so happy that we're sort of getting over it now. It's fantastic. And hopefully it keeps up too. Now, a bird that I am going to be looking out for, we normally start to see them later on in the year, maybe even the beginning of next year. And I know James was wondering exactly this. Have there been any sightings of the carmine bee eater? Now, I haven't seen any yet, but I'm definitely going to be looking out for them. Brent hasn't said to me that he's seen one just yet, so perhaps they have not arrived just yet. Maybe they will be, though. I'd suspect that it'd be a good time to come here, though, with all the insects and things that are around. Right, who have we got around here that's fluttering? Looks like David, I'm going to try and sneak up onto them. Let's go stealth mode. But they're flying just here. Don't fly. No. Naughty birds. Why do they do this to us all the time? There were some arrow-marked babblers, but as they always do, they didn't even make a sound this time. They just made a sneaky escape, and off they went. Well, fine babblers. We just won't show you to everyone then. It's not very nice. Oh, well. Seems like we're going to have a birding day today, David. Where are all the impala today? They were here yesterday, and now they're gone. Oh, we've got something else. Who have we got here? Check the tops of the trees. And I haven't even seen one insect this morning. But maybe it's because it's a little bit cold. I feel like I'm a little bit overdressed today. I don't actually need this big jacket. It's not that cold. Right, we're going to have a little scratch around here. Check a couple of the pans. This was the last time I saw hyenas. They were around here, so we'll have a good look around here for any sign of life. But while we do that, we're going to send you across to Brent and see if he's had any luck with relocating on Mfumo.
Well, Mfumo doesn't seem to want to be found. I'm pretty sure he'll come out of that block at some time, but it would take a long time of driving up and down off the road to find him. And you know what? We've started Saturday Cat Day with a lovely big cat. Let's see if we can find a few more. So, of course, I'm still very interested in the ongoings of Karula and Tingana. I'm pretty sure they must be on Torchwood if they're still mating, as Tingana was heading straight east, but it could be coming towards the end of that mating cycle, so she might be trying to move back down to where she left the cubs. And so we're going to do a loop around, check cheetah cut line, check the southern boundary, make sure she has come back or hasn't come back, just try to get a bit more information. I haven't heard anything from the other guides, so it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in the next week or two. Now, I know you were chatting about carmine beetles with Taylor. Now, strange enough, I have seen one, but we were off air, and it was a single one flying over. So they are around. Maybe we'll see one this morning, on this grey, windy day. Morning, Gil. Gil would like to know, is there any possibility of wild dogs today? Gil, there's always a possibility of wild dogs. I hope so, though, Gil. I really do. I haven't seen dogs in an age. I think the last dogs I saw... was it when they chased Karula? No, I think I've seen them once after that. It seems very quiet so far. No tracks on the eastern front. Now, since Gil's asked a question about wild dogs, if there's a possibility of seeing them, I think we should all focus our positive energy in wild dogs. Actually, I wouldn't mind some Christmas Day wild dogs. That'll be quite nice. But let's think now. Which game reserve, quiz time, in Africa has the largest population of wild dogs? Which game reserve in Africa has the largest population of wild dogs? You can send your answers through to #SafariLIVE or email questions@wildearth.tv. Which game reserve in Africa has the largest population of wild dogs? There we go, that's a nice one. Get the wild dog thinking going, maybe they'll pop up in front of us. I actually think the last time I saw wild dogs was on Cheetah Cutline, but it was quite a long time ago. 1 second, sorry guys. Morning, Michael. We had one Unangala. We lost him as he went into the Shkova from Gari Cut Line. No sign of him coming out on Hyena Road, but I have left the area. I'm sure he's in there still somewhere. Any updates for CP or the East? Oh, hello. Okay, copy. Thanks very much. And just let me know if you hear anything on Eastern Channel about Karula. There he is. Yeah, a little beetle. Not sure what family. It's not a dung beetle. Yeah, he doesn't want to be forward facing. Hello, there we go. Nice shiny iridescence. Anyway, let him blow away. Oh no, he doesn't want to go. Oh, come on, little one. There we go. Okay. See, there's always something out here, big, small. Now we've got our first answer in for the quiz. Marianne would like to know, is it the Sabi Sands? It is not, Marianne, it is not. As far as I know, let me just remember, there are 14 packs in Kruger, or the greater Kruger area, which we fall in, and only 4 of those packs pass through the Sabi Sands. Safari Dean says Moremi in Botswana. It does have one of the bigger populations, but not the biggest. There's estimated only to be 3,500 to 4,000 wild dogs left in the wild in the whole of Africa. Now, what's considered to be a population is generally 450 or above in an area, and there's less than 300 in the greater Kruger. There were 450 when I started in the Sabi Sands a long time ago, in 2003. But there was an outbreak of canine and distemper in 2005 that really whacked the wild dog population in this area. But they are slowly building back up to that 450, that viable breeding population. Well done to James, Richard and Michael. You are spot on. It is indeed the Selous Game Reserve in southern Tanzania. There is an estimated between 1,500 and 2,000 buffalo. I saw buffalo dung. Wild dog in the Selous Game Reserve. It is a truly massive game reserve. It is over 10 million acres. A very, very big area, very, very remote, very hard to get to. I was lucky enough to spend a few years living and running a concession in that part of the world, and I had, in our concession, I saw 4 different packs of dogs, 5 different packs of dogs. Now, that concession I ran in southern Tanzania was 120,000 hectares, which is exactly double the size of the whole Sabi Sands, from north to south everywhere. And we only ever had 8 people at a time on safari with us. Morning, Yanni. Yanni would like to know, what is the reason why wild dog numbers are so low? Well, it's a multiple reasons. Wild dogs need a very big home range. Generally, a single pack will need between 60 and 100,000 hectares, so over 200,000 acres for a single pack. They're highly mobile, they're highly efficient hunters, and so a lack of space. But the thing that caused the biggest crash in the populations, they were heavily shot out during the early 1900s. But even then, that was still okay. There was enough sort of faraway places where they existed. But canine distemper and rabies from domestic dogs have been the biggest killers and threat to the populations. Now, their biggest natural predator, and that occurs naturally in the wild, is lions. Kill quite a lot of wild dogs, but it is disease from domestic dogs, distemper and rabies, that have caused the most massive crashes in populations in the last 20 years. So lack of habitat, disease, and human shooting have been the three major contributing factors to the loss of massive wild dog populations. Now we're looking for sign of leopards here on the southern boundary. So far, no sign whatsoever. Still a few spitting spots of rain in the air, nothing too serious though, fortunately. Now, it wasn't far from here where I've seen the only carmine bees of the year. So, let's keep a lookout. Maybe there's some more. What have you seen? What did you spot? A what? An eagle. Aha. I heard some alarm calls. Where we go? Where am I going?
And stop.
And stop. Oh, well spotted, Rian. There's a bird of prey in the tree. It's looking very uncomfortable with life. It is a very, very, very cold and fluffed up Warburg's eagle. There we go. A dark morph Warburg's eagle. I thought for a second how excited Rian got. He had spotted his first leopard. Now you can hear chip, 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 chip. And that's bird's alarm calling at the eagle. Oh, another one's landed. Let's go forward a bit. A juvenile basileia. There we go. Landed on the big dead leadwood that gives Leadwood Road its name. Ooh. It's a juvenile that's coming into adult plumage. So that means it's about 8 years old. It takes them about 8 years old to get their full adult plumage. So maybe just under 8. Oh, Herbie is calling me. Good morning, Herbie. There was just one Wununangala that went from Gari Cutline through the Shkova. I'm pretty sure he's somewhere between Hyena and the Shkova. And then that's it so far. You're having a scratch. A bit of preening, get those feathers all in order. So of course, as I said, it's coming into adult plumage, so it's going to be molting. It's going to be losing quite a lot of its juvenile, those brown feathers, as the beautiful black feathers take their place. You can see feet are already red. They've changed from that bluey green color, and so has the beak and face. Not quite fully changed to that magnificent red that we know they can get, but it's on its way. It's happening. Maybe by the end of the year you'll be a big battalier. Yes, we're talking about you. Anyway, we're going to leave the battalier and continue on. Now, Taylor is obviously exploring the far-flung corners of Arathusa, trying to find you, maybe an Nkoma or a leopard. So let's go see how her search is going.
Brent is indeed being very optimistic this morning because we haven't seen a footprint of anything at the moment. It's very frustrating out here, but it seems as though we have found ourselves a couple of European bee-eaters. Now, they're very easy to identify as we sit and look. I don't think there's any wasps or bees for them to catch just yet. I think it's a little bit early to see the insects. And can you hear that other bird shouting? That is a lilac-breasted roller making all that noise. I don't know what it's shouting about, but the bee-eaters don't seem to mind it too much, just watching it. But the wind has died down, hey, David? It's now gone. It's actually warm. I'm going to have to take my jacket off shortly, which will be quite nice, and then I think that the insects will start waking up, and the birds will then start flying around doing their acrobatic displays, catching all sorts of wonderful things to eat. Bye-bye, little bee-eaters. We're going to continue up the road and see what else we've got along here. There's lots of marula trees, so we're checking them for leopards. Right. Now, speaking about... I'm actually having a birding morning today. Maybe we should just start talking only about birds, and then perhaps a mammal will jump in front of us or show itself to us. Now, Siberia Zumi, you were wondering about if we get any tinker birds in this area. We do indeed. Occasionally we see them. Hello, impala. We have an impala. A beautiful impala ram. And you can see what I mean when I say it's not too chilly today. He doesn't really have his coat all ruffled up. It's quite pleasant out here. Oh, but they're looking fantastic at the moment. You know it must be tough for the animals when you start to see the impala losing condition and their hips starting to show. Because with them being able to feed on a variety of different food types, they normally have a better chance at making it through the harsher conditions. But at one point, they didn't look too good. And you can see he's staring back behind him over his shoulder. And that's because there's a young impala ram making his approach. So I suspect that this is one of the boys that perhaps was born last year. And Mom has said, right, off you go. And he's been wandering around on his own. And I think he's quite excited to see another impala. Because it must be quite daunting to be out here all on your own. No life experience. The family doesn't want you around anymore. And of course, well, you don't want to hang around all on your own out here. You see, very nervous. Also, just checking around. But maybe he's got some friends. Maybe there's a couple of other young boys that are still coming up in the distance. Almost looks like he was doing a nervous swallow there. I don't know if you saw him do that big gulp as his ears twitch. He doesn't look as confident as that big impala ram we just had a look at. You'll get there. You'll learn the ropes, especially if you hang around a big boy like we've just seen. I think he's got plenty of life experience, and he probably knows quite a few of the tricks of the trade. But you've still got a long way to go, my friend. Hasn't quite got the muscle tone of a big, strong Impala ram. He's still quite sort of scrawny. It almost looks like his legs are big, don't quite fit the rest of his body. It's okay. Oh, now we're getting a couple of drops again, but it's not really anything serious. It's more of a mist this morning than anything out here on Arathusa. And you can see, oh, he's just beautiful. He's going to be a lovely ram when he gets a little bit older, but not for the next couple of years. Well, thank you, Impala, for breaking our silence of the mammals. We haven't seen anything for quite some time other than our feathered friends, but I know someone who's just woken up and wiping the sleep out of his eyes, and I suppose he'll say good morning to you. Let's jump across to James.
Good morning everybody. Yes, the sleep being wiped from my eyes as we stand here on quarantine clearings looking at a zebra who's been up for some time. Brian is on camera today. There we are. My name is James Hendry, and it would be lovely to hear from you. Of course, we are as live as Taylor and Brent, and I'm now going to stop pretending to be tired, because I've been up for hours actually. Hashtag safariLIVE is how you get hold of us. questions@wildearth.tv. I've just had my coffee. Zebra, let's go and see. We're going to walk towards the zebra and see how close we can get to them. I'm not sure how long this walk is going to last, to be honest, because it is just a little bit sort of blustery and there's the odd squall blowing through, and the bushwalk camera doesn't really like the odd squall. Watch out, Brian. There's something extremely, extremely dangerous here. Do you see it? I do. It is a black mamba. A small-legged black mamba. It's not really a black mamba, everyone. It's a very large millipede. You can see it next to my stick. It's actually the largest one I've seen this season. And it doesn't want to climb onto my stick, and I don't want to pick it up. I picked up a pill millipede earlier today, but the pill millipede decided to void its bowels onto my hands, and I find that really a deeply distressing experience to have had, and this millipede will no doubt do precisely the same thing. It is looking for dry and dead bits of plant material, and one thing that we discovered it eats quite nicely the other day, David and I, it loves to eat mushrooms. Mushrooms that grow on the back end of elephant dung. It finds very delicious indeed, so perhaps that is what it's looking for. Now, the other thing to think about is the antenna. We often I think, just pass over the antenna on insects and don't really pay them too much attention. This isn't an insect, of course, but it is an invertebrate, an arthropod. The antennae are used for smell. They are also used slightly for hearing, believe it or not, so they can pick up vibrations in the ground. They're used for sensing pheromones in the air. They can sense air pressure sometimes, and they can also perhaps be used for navigation, so they can sense quite possibly the magnetic resonance, if you like, of the Earth. Isn't that amazing? Quite astounding. And temperature. They can pick up temperature. Daniel, no, it would not. You say, if this thing lost one of its legs, and obviously it has many to lose, would it get that leg back? No, Daniel, the leg would not grow back. It would be finished, and that would be the end of that leg. But of course, I don't think it would really notice. I think it would hardly notice at all. Okay, let's carry on. See if we can continue towards those zebra, which have now seemingly taken fright and run away. But there is a very strange friend out here, a friend that we don't see very often, which makes me very sad. And there he is now. A wildebeest. Now, Julie in California, was that? Julie. Julie in California, you're wondering about coming on safari to Africa and what the best time of year is. Well, Julie, as we walk towards this wildebeest, which is an unusual visitor to these parts these days, sadly, it really depends on what you like. I think that there are 4 distinct times of the year to come out here. Well, let's begin with this time of the year, which I would describe as the sort of early summer period, October, November, December. Very hot most of the time, but lovely new flush of green grass, baby animals everywhere, new birds returning, sometimes a bit of rain. It's now starting to run away, unfortunately, and I think they're running away, everybody, because the wind is blowing from them to us, which means they don't have scent of us, and they tend to judge our threat level quite a lot by the scent that they can pick up. So we'll walk slowly around this way. Julie, then you get the sort of midsummer months, January, February, March, and those are, well, also pretty hot. The grass is quite tall and long. Everything is very green. Can be a bit of rain, but less of this frontal stuff that we're having now. But I like that time of the year because, yes, everything is here. Everything's kind of settled down into the calm of the summer. Everything's very green, and certainly the grass it just looks like a kind of verdant paradise, really. Then we go from April, May and June. Those are pretty good months too because it's much cooler. There's very little chance of rain, but then everything's kind of grown up a little bit. So all the impala lambs are not really looking so lamb-like anymore. The migratory birds start to leave. But climatically, possibly the best time of the year to come, especially if you're from an area where, well, you don't have to experience the extremes of heat that we have to experience here. And then we go from, July, August and September. That's probably not the best way to have it. July and August, the end of winter, just starting to warm up a bit there. You don't get it is pretty chilly in the mornings in July and August. It's not freezing by any stretch of the imagination, but it's pretty chilly. Quite a nice time of the year because the vegetation starts to thin then, you see. And so what you find is that all the trees don't have leaves on them, and so seeing into the bush is good. We're in the dry season, so water starts to concentrate, so game viewing is generally very good. And into September, that persists, but the temperature gets much hotter, and it can be beastly hot during September with very little rain. And so if you come sort of August, September, October time, you find a situation where, or September, October basically, you find the game viewing is normally excellent. We haven't had any rain yet, but it can look, if you're not used to this kind of vegetation type, it can look very bleak. Not a huge amount of green around, no grass on the ground, kind of grey-brown, not this kind of green colour that you're seeing all over the place here. So those are the different times of year. Game viewing is good all the time. It just depends kind of what you want. There's no bad time to come, but they are very different times of year, Julie. Right, we're going to keep going down here. We've got Herbie walking out in front of there, and what he's trying to do is see if he can't find Karula's tracks. White Lady Aowin. You want to know how bad the drought is this year? The drought was pretty bad, as I was saying yesterday, and there's a general desire amongst human beings to be very dramatic, you see, and so people say, oh, it's the worst drought in living memory. Oh, it's the hottest summer I've ever experienced out here. Look, we had a drought. Was it the worst there's ever been? I don't think it was, but it was pretty bad. We had very little rain last summer, which meant that we went into the dry season, which was pretty normal, but without the water reserves that we should have had. And so, yes, it was pretty nasty. That in turn, of course, affected the buffalo, which in turn affected the lions, who got sick with white muscle disease. Some of them survived, some of them did not. Herbert is saying, let us go over there. And I don't think we're going to have a drought this year. But great predictions, of course, of deluges, Noah-type floods, diluvian battening down of hatches, building of arks, bolstering of dams, that sort of thing. Well, we've just had a little bit of spittle now and again. But when floods do come to this area, they normally come around January time. So there is Herbie. He's managed to find something that he feels we might enjoy looking at. I think this may have been the tree that Brent Leo Smythe was standing around yesterday afternoon when he found that beautiful olive burrowing scorpion. No, not burrowing, just olive scorpion with its babies. Maybe Herbert has refound those. Oh, come in. You sure? That's exactly what he's found. That is so cool. Hello, Hans. Okay, it's underneath this log. Ndakib. Oh, look, there it is. With all its little babies. In exactly the same place as it was yesterday. So as we watch Karula's babies grow up, so we watch the babies of the olive bark scorpion growing up. Don't we, Brian? Yeah. Yes. Isn't that cool? Now, in case you weren't on walk with us yesterday afternoon, where Brent described, I think, probably pieces of the biology of this creature, it is deeply venomous, so it's not something you want to be bitten by here. It will make you very sore indeed. If you happen to be allergic to its venom, well, it could make you quite sick too. But what is so fascinating is those little scorpionlings on its back. And I just think that's spectacular. It will be eating these termites. It'll be enjoying the termites greatly. And we talk, about parental care quite a lot out here. And it's often something that people are very, very interested in. But look at the scorpion and how amazingly caring she is. She's supposed to be, I suppose, what we might describe as a lower life form. But she is a spectacularly good parent to her little scorpionlings. I think it's just marvelous. And she will glow that tremendous kind of greenish blue color. Ooh. Watch out there, Brian. She'll glow that tremendous greenish blue color where if you shine ultraviolet light on her. Ooh. Now, UK expat, here she is, Brian. She's right around this side. And she's catching termites. She's stinging them. UK expat, you say, how does she feed the babies? I don't really know. I think perhaps what she does, she doesn't like really to be exposed. But perhaps what she does is actually, she probably kills off a termite or two and maybe puts them on her back for them to eat. Let's watch. There, she's caught a termite. You see that, Brian? She's unfortunately turned her back on you. She seems to be, she's caught it in her pincers. She's stung it now with her sting. That will kill the termite. Now let's watch. Does she put it onto her back for the little ones to eat? Or does she just devour it herself? She's waiting for it to die. Yes, she is. She's putting it onto her back. Or into her mouth. I can't actually see there. I'm pretty sure that she will just kind of put it onto her back there. It's quite a lot of sting for one little termite to have to deal with. Love 3 dogs. You're wondering at what age the babies become a danger. I really couldn't begin to tell you, I'm afraid. The biology of the olive bark scorpion is not something I'm tremendously familiar with, and I suspect no one really is. Of course, with snakes, as soon as they're born, their venom is as potent as their parents. I don't know if that is the same for scorpions. I suspect it's fairly similar, but I suspect their little tails are probably completely unable to deliver a bite or a sting at this stage. So let's say, I don't know, let's say probably from about 3 or 4 weeks, I guess. But that really is a complete guess. Love 3 dogs. I can't believe this. We found this thing again. That is fantastic. Well done, Herbert. Good job. Marvellous. Well, now, you see, this is a very good question. N. Ruth, you're saying, do the termites know that the scorpion is a predator? I don't think so, no. But there must be some element of instinctual need to hide or get away. Otherwise, imagine all termites would be eaten. You know, it's like with an ant or something like that. As soon as it perceives you around, you know that it's going to try and move away and run away and get into its hole or whatever it is. Now, I mean, a scorpion and a termite are not exactly animals known for their great brain power. In other words, they're not necessarily able to calculate consequences of their actions. In fact, many mammals aren't able to do that. We tend to think of mammals as being much more sophisticated from an intelligence point of view. So, can a termite tell that the scorpion is a predator? I don't know. There will definitely be some kind of pheromone given off by the scorpion that perhaps the termites are able to pick up, but they don't exactly seem to be running away from it. I mean, there's one about to climb onto its back by mistake. So I'm going to say no, I don't think they can. There may be some kind of energetic effect where, you know, they pick up the energy of the scorpion and they know that it's trouble. I don't know. Isn't it fascinating to think? The scorpion's got the termite in its mouth, I think, now. So maybe she doesn't put it onto her back for the babies to eat. I really don't know how they manage to eat. I mean, that is a proper scorpion, isn't it? This is amazing. Ginny, again, you know, I'm so unfamiliar with the biology of this animal. You say, how many babies does it have? Brian, what do you think on the back there? About 30? Wow. About 30 little babies, maybe? And hoping to try and get onto the bark again, which, of course, we will allow it to do. But this is a stinging beast, this flailing around with those pincers, which are fairly ineffectual. And the pincers will be used mainly to put termites into its mouth as opposed to catch them. The sting is what's used to grab, immobilize, and kill its prey. Oh. Right, Taylor McCurdy, while this thing disappears underneath a piece of bark, has found you some stripy friends that are probably a little bit more friendly to her than they were to me and Brian earlier.
We've come across a herd of zebra and a couple of impala dotted in between them. But sadly, I don't think they're going to be around for too much longer as they're moving off into the thicker parts of Arethusa in search of the lovely long grass. Though, I don't think they need to go too far, and hopefully they don't, because there's lots of wonderful grass. Well, just below their noses, really. All they have to do is put their heads on the ground and, well, eat. As you can see, it's a lovely spot. It's nice and sheltered in there, though. Their tails are working overtime at the moment. So there must be a couple of flies or maybe a couple of midges that are biting them, that are fluttering around there. Hello, guys. Now, speaking about horses and things, I'll tell you now. That was so funny. I was just about to say that. Now, Dina, you must have read my mind. You were wondering why horses can be tamed, but zebra can't. And it's a really good question, because you'd think, being in the same family, that of course they'd be able to be, well, they're pretty much just like horses, just a different color, of course. Now, it's like they don't want to be domesticated. They've tried, but they are very cheeky. They bite, they kick. They are wild animals. I reckon, though, if you had to have a zebra and you bred them and kept them in captivity and you tried to domesticate them over a number of years, I reckon eventually the offspring of maybe the third or fourth zebra that had been bred, they will probably be quite relaxed with humans and not want to kick and bite us all the time. However, they're not really useful to have because they don't have a strong back like a horse does. So you wouldn't really be able to ride them, or I don't know if you'd want to ride them. You'd have to be quite a light person. And, well, maybe you could train them up for show jumping. I don't know if there's any rules in the FEI about jumping zebra. Or I don't think they'd be too useful for pulling carts, maybe a small cart. But just in terms of having them around to use as a helping hand to sort of help you out with your daily chores and that type of thing if you've got a farm, I don't know. I think it would be better to go with donkeys and horses. I think that they are much stronger than the zebras are. Well, they are real weight carriers. So that's okay with me. We'll leave the zebra out here in the wilderness alone. We won't bother with them too much. We'll just look at them. I quite like it that they're out here. Now, there was a woodland kingfisher, but it flew away, and it flew up into this big tree, but I think it chased the turtle doves that were sitting in it as well, and now I can't see it anymore. I think it's flown away. I can hear it. David, I think it's done a sneaky on us and flown into the marula trees with all the leaves. Okay, well, we shall continue. We've got to do a little bit of a reversing out of here. Let's go back. We're actually right at the airstrip. I'll show you the airstrip in just a moment. Oh my goodness. Oh, look at all the pretty flowers, David. They're just wonderful. All the morning glories for the morning. I suppose that's appropriate. And now the winds come back again. But isn't that lovely? We normally just see one or two every now and then, but it's nice to see a whole group of flowers together. It's very pretty. And I wonder what other little ones are going to start popping out of the ground and surprising us. Perhaps there'll be a new flower that I shall find that I haven't seen before. Now, that's what actually something Brent and I were chatting about over the next couple of days, hopefully between today and Christmas. We're going to try and do a butterfly challenge. Well, just because butterflies are all out at the moment and they're really beautiful, we'll have to choose days, of course, when it's not overcast and windy. Otherwise, I don't think we'll see too many insects. And we're going to probably go out after drive, do a bit of knowledge sharing, and have a look and prep for it, because butterflies are not an easy thing. It's sort of like learning birds. Every butterfly has got a different jizz. Now, when I say jizz, it's the way that it flies. David's laughing at me. David, that is the term that you use to describe the pattern in which the bird is flying. He finds that hysterical. And, of course, every butterfly has got a different flight pattern as well. Just like birds, you know how you see the hornbills sort of sailing in the sky, or the doves sailing in the sky, and then you get the erratic flight pattern of a drongo, it's doing circles and all sorts of types of crazy things. But that'll be quite nice. We'll go out and do a bit of practicing, though. Also, look for a couple of different flowers and see what we've been missing. So that's quite nice, and that's what we do. If you're wondering about improving our knowledge, well, that's one of the ways, is we go out with each other, and especially when you've got experienced guides like James and Brent and Steph, of course, and Jamie, all out there. For me, of course, it's quite what I get to learn from the absolute best. We're going to have a little scratch, a few or that elusive jackal, but for now, while we haven't got anything.
Hello, welcome back. We've checked the southern boundary extensively. Unfortunately, no sign of Queen Krula or Hosana or Shungile. I did bump into Shanae from Nkoro, and they said they had tracks of Tingana and Krula going into Little Gowrie. So they're to the south of us still. And then I heard, as you probably heard from Taylor, the Nkahumas are in Simbambili. The Tsalalas are on Shirley's. Unfortunately, both areas that are outside of our traverse. So, I am going to start slowly heading back up towards the Buffelshoek Waterhole and Hyena Road, see if we can find Mr. Mfumo again. Now, it seems like James can't find any scorpions of his own, so he has to show clips of our scorpions from yesterday. And the butterfly challenge is a good one. I'm very happy. Taylor and I were chatting about it yesterday. And go out onto quarantine when there's a nice day. This is a terrible day for butterflies. And see if we can catch a few new species. What we got here? Hyena tracks. Now, Soraya was wondering if there's any update on Karula's cubs. Soraya, not that I've heard. The last update I heard was 2 days ago. Now, not quite ready yet, but we might get lucky for a frog or two. So I've been saying we need some of these pans to get some greenery, some grass for the frogs to hide in. Let us see if we can disturb one. Now, a pan like this, we could have banded rubber frogs, we could have cassinas, leaf folding frogs, stream frogs, but nothing is popping out just yet. But there's a very cool grass species that I don't think I've ever showed you guys before, but I'll bring that through once I've finished my check for amphibians. Okay, so this, for me, is the most likely spot. Oh, believe it or not. Okay, are you ready? Are you ready? Ready, Rian. Now we're going to put you to the test. There is a butterfly. Oh. Thorny. Follow my stick. You see it? That white thingy there. You get him? There we go. Isn't that cool? Now comes the hard part of IDing it. And I think I know what it is already. Oh, I'm sinking in the mud. See, you go looking for frogs and you find a butterfly. I just want to see if when its wings are open. Yes, beautiful. Did you catch that? Okay, I'm going to do it again. You see where it landed? It's right below me there. Got him? Okay, I'm just going to get him to... Hello, fly, butterfly. There we go. Beautiful. It is a new one that we haven't ticked off our list. And before I sink any deeper into the mud or get caught any further in the thorns, doesn't look like we've got any frogs, or if there are, they're being very, very sneaky. Ha-ha! You can even find butterflies in this weather. But I'm going to put that up on the dashboard and have a look at the striped grass species we have got here. It is an aquatic grass species, so it normally only grows in pans. Oh. And the rain cover is giving Rian a little bit of a problem there, but there we go. It should get sorted shortly. There we go. Now it's called a jungle rice. And aquatic grass. And the seeds are quite sought after by quite a few different bird species. Very, very cool. And we only really see it in the summer, and it always grows in or on the edge of pans. Now, we are on to the butterflies. Now, you've got to be careful when it comes to this, because you have a scarlet tip and you have a red tip. Now, this one was the scarlet tip. So there we go. Yay, we get to tick another one. I've got the pen with me. Scarlet tip. Now, the main reason I know it is a scarlet tip and not a red tip is when looking at the outside, the red tip butterfly, the red comes through and you can see it from the outside. On the scarlet tip, it is not as visible and it doesn't really come through on the outside. Isn't that wonderful? I didn't think we were going to see any butterflies today, especially not one as beautiful as the scarlet tip. Put our butterfly checklist down. Let's carry on. Now there's another pan I might want to check for some froggy friends. And the more the grass grows in these pans, the more pleasing and better they will become for the frog species. Okay, let's continue on. It's quite nippy this morning. Hasn't warmed up either. It stayed pretty constant. We're around 70 odd degrees. Not Celsius, Fahrenheit. Well, Ladybugs and Daisies says, thanks Brent, I'm now starting a butterfly list. Well, good for you. And with a handle like Ladybugs and Daisies, you almost think butterflies would definitely be up your alley. Okay, let's have a look how much grass has grown in the next little pan. Here we go, we're almost there. We are hoping for much lushness on the edge of the pan to hopefully hide a froggy or three. Yeah, the lushness has not arrived yet. It is still a barren pan, unfortunately. So, unlikely to have too many frog species, not so many places to hide. Sorry guys. So we also had one male lion off Gary Cut Line, between Gary Cut Line and Hyena Road this morning. He lost him in the drainage line. I'm heading back to that area to try to relocate. Okay. I haven't been to the Buffelshoek waterhole in quite some time, so definitely a good spot to look. We did get an incredible bird species there this year, which I was very surprised to find. It was a female painted snipe. Well, hello, Michael. Michael was wondering how many types of parrot we get in Africa. Oh, Michael, quite a few. In the Sabi Sands, we normally only get one species, which is the brown-headed parrot. There is always a chance of a grey-headed parrot arriving. And in the Yellowwood forests along the mountains, we get Cape parrots. So, and then in the dry savanna to the north, in the northern Kruger, following the Limpopo River up to Botswana, you get Mayer's parrots. And I'm just trying to remember now. Yes, we do have one other parrot species in southern Africa, and that is the Ruppel's parrot, which occurs in Namibia. Now, up north, trying to remember all the parrot species. You've got orange-bellied parrots, African grey parrot, nyam-nyam parrot, Senegal parrot, red-fronted parrot. I don't have my big book of outside of southern Africa with me today, but I'd say there's probably between 10 and 15 species of parrots indigenous to Africa. Can't remember now. I've been fortunate enough to see quite a few of them, traveling and living up Africa in different places. Okay, we're going to head towards Buffalo's Hook Waterhole. While we do that, let's go see what Commander Bond is up to on his 2 feet.
We have got what I think is called a broad-bordered grass yellow, except it doesn't seem to have a border. Well, it hasn't opened its wings for us. It is a butterfly, of course. And so that's what I think it is, and I think if it opens its wings there will be a slight border. Anyway, the butterfly is deeply confusing, of course, not like the birds. They don't all look exactly the same as each other in the same species. They have various different colour morphs, and so I think that's what that is. And it's often that you find those beautiful butterflies sitting on elephant dung. For some reason they like to sit there, perhaps for the moisture that comes with elephant dung. Not a great deal of flying around, very sluggish flight from the butterflies today, of course, because it's cold, and that makes it difficult for them to fly. Also, a number of sweat bees, flies, walking around or sitting on my legs at the moment. That's quite painful. Oh, look at what we have here, Brian. We have the burrow of Opisthythelmus glabifrons, or the burrowing scorpion. That's where that thing lives, probably in there. And we know, of course, many of you will have seen that they eat millipedes, and then they turf out the exoskeleton. That's what's happened there. But also, this one seems to be a fan of escargot, a snail. And that doesn't seem to be the one that Steph is so... Steph is slightly obsessed with this exotic snail here called, I think it's called a single-striped snail or something like that, or banded snail. This one seems to be an indigenous species, but unfortunately it met its end at the pincers and pedipalps of the burrowing scorpion that lives in this hole. That's quite nice. I've never seen that before. We often find, of course, the shells of the millipede there, but not so much the shells of snails. I wonder how he ate it. Perhaps with some garlic. I suppose it depends whether he's a French scorpion or not. On we go. Now we've come down here. We don't know where Hosana and Shongile are at the moment. We're kind of going into a spot between the areas where Karula was last seen, off down to where I'm pointing there, and between where Hosana was last seen, quite a long way to the south of where we are now. We're kind of going into the middle of that area, seeing if we can't find some tracks. Now, Liz, you're wondering if we see any swallowtail butterflies here. Yes, we do see swallowtails. We see citrus swallowtails, emperor swallowtails. What's the other one with the blue? It's a beautiful coloured thing. I think they actually call it a green swallowtail. So we get a number of different swallowtail butterflies that we see here, yes. Here are some mushrooms. I'll just pick one up for you, Brian. Brian, of course, is well, he's not a small lad, and therefore it's easier if I pick things up rather than he has to lie down. There we are. And there have been a great profusion of these mushrooms coming out on the rotting and dead wood. And we were looking at some under the microscope in the tent the other day, and it really is quite astounding looking at the filaments of these fungi. Very nice. Beautiful. This one seems to already have released its spores, and if I turn it all the way over, you can see the spores are well, I suppose the equivalent of a fungus seed. And they would have come out from under those flaps underneath there and blown off on the wind and settled on some other wood where they'll have to wait for this kind of rotting effect to take effect once there's been a bit more rain. Nice. Would you like to eat this, Brian?
No, thank you.
Are you sure? Yeah. Okay. Good. I think that's probably wise. All right, on we go. This time of the year is the best, I think, for doing a bushwalk. Well, from a safety point of view, you've got to be quite careful because, of course, the bush is a lot thicker. But just about everywhere you look, every little patch of ground is almost an ecosystem unto itself. And every time I sit down and pick something up or try and show something, there are always 3 or 4 different things in one spot. You can be looking at a bush like this. You'll find a scorpion nest underneath it. You will find a whole lot of ants climbing up and down the trunk of the tree. You'll find some mantises specially designed to eat those ants in that specific tree, and all sorts of other things like that, funguses and bits and bobs, snakes perhaps underneath branches. Must be careful of those. Don't want to be picked by a snake. And a strange sort of cool day persists, and a day like this, of course, flowers such as this wild sesame, well, they don't open really because they like to follow the sun. Beautiful colour, that is the wild sesame. Right, let's carry on. RT, you want to see a Sisyphus? Well, RT, if there's one thing that I can almost guarantee you in the next, say, I don't know, minute or so, I'm pretty sure I can find you a Sisyphus. Watch, this will be the only Sisyphus-free patch of land there is on this land. A Sisyphus, for those of you who don't know, is a buffalo thorn. There's one. Let's come over here, Brian. A buffalo thorn has some very nasty thorns on it. One hooked, one pointed backwards. Very good eating if you happen to be something that likes to eat vegetation out here. Not so good if you happen to get caught in it. Here it is here. Now the elephants have destroyed this one. They have been very pleased to eat it, no doubt. So this is a Sisyphus. RT, anything specific about the Sisyphus you wanted to see? You can see the hooked and straight thorns there. And there are lots of legends about what this tree is used for and how it's used, and many of which I've kind of shared with you already, and which I'm happy to share with you again, but I don't want to bore you to death, of course. I quite like the one with the hooked thorn and the straight thorn. The straight thorn indicating that you need to always look forward to your future, with the smaller and hooked thorn indicating that one must never forget one's past, Brian. It's a very pleasant tasting leaf, I must say. So I think I'm going to have a small breakfast here, and Brent has found Juma's worst parents. Let's go and have a look at them.
That is very funny. James just said found Juma's worst parents. I was thinking about, how did they lose 11 or 12 little goslings, the geese of Buffelshoek Dam? I was wondering, maybe they're hidden in the bush, but I don't think so. I think they'd be out in the open with the adults if they were still alive. Oh dear. Sorry if you hear some that my mic has slipped out of my hat. It should be back in shortly. There we go. So not much else happening at the Buffelshoek waterhole, just the geese drinking. And I was hoping that male lion might have popped out this far, but alas, not yet. And I was also hoping for a little bit of a roar, but no such luck. I am going to head towards Hyena Road. Maybe he's popped out there. If nothing, we'll go check in the block again. Now, let's go to Taylor with something beginning with a T.
We've got a tortoise hiding in the long grass under a small shrub, and I don't know if you can see it. Oh, there we go, now you can. And it is a very small hinge-back tortoise. Hello, little guy. It was on the road and didn't stick out on the road for too long. Perhaps it felt a little bit vulnerable out here. And, well, if I was the size of this little guy, I'd probably be a little bit nervous as well. Because something like an eagle, even a crow, would find this to be a tasty meal. And because it is so small, It's not going to be very heavy, and those birds would be able to pick it up and take it up to the quite high up in the sky and then drop it and hope that it would crack open. Also, it's good to hide away, especially if there are any southern ground hornbills around, because it's one of their favorite meals, is to crack open the top of the shell and feed on a lovely tortoise treat. But luckily for this little one, it's hiding away. It looks very much like a rock at the moment. And well, I'm actually surprised to see a tortoise moving around today, because it's quite chilly, and normally they don't move in temperatures that are too cool. But if you're hungry, maybe that's what's enticed this animal to come out, and maybe it's looking for something to eat, some grass, some flowers, maybe even a bug or two. I'm not sure. They sometimes will eat little bugs as well to get a bit of protein. But bye-bye, little tortoise, hiding away from us. We'll catch... Oh, actually, I'm going to jump out because I found something and be very sneaky very quickly. Oh, it's such a long way down. Need to grow longer legs. I'm not going to bother the tortoise, but I've got a flower. I haven't seen these in such a long time. Have a look here. Isn't this beautiful? Now, this is known. I don't know if anybody... Actually, let's do a quiz. I'm going to change my mind. I'm actually going to plug myself back in. What is this flower? You must have seen it before. I'm sure James and Brent and Jamie have all showed you this before, but I'm not going to tell you just yet. So send in your answers to #safariLIVE on Twitter, or you can send in your answers at questions@wildearth.tv. And I'm not going to spoil the surprise. We'll keep it with us. Let's try and get back in now. Have to go unplugged so I can twist and turn. I need to be very careful that I don't release something that I want to show you in there. Ta-da, I'm back in again. Right. Okay, so remember, we want to find out what that flower is. Well, I know what it is, and I'm sure that most of you have known what it is. It's a lovely flower to know about if you're out in the bush. So send those questions through to, like I said, #safariLIVE or questions@wildearth.tv. And it'd be nice to know. It's a very easy one to identify. And I think that you will all probably get it very, very quickly. Now we're just about to leave Arethusa. We're about to jump back onto Gowrie, Main. David, what are our plans from here? We're unsure of what we should do. Let's maybe drive down Gowrie, Main. I don't know if Brent has come down this way. Let's have a little squiz around here. And, well, hopefully we'll see maybe somebody's come into the property that we don't know about, some animal of some type. We'll keep an eye out for a couple of tracks. And anything, really. Been nice to get some baby impala this morning. I love to see them. I actually like to be able to sit and watch them on a big open plain. Watch them play. And well done to Anna Marie and Fran, who have got the flower quiz correct. You were spot on this morning and so quick, so thank you for your hasty responses. They guessed correctly and said a blue comelinia, or it's another name for it is a wandering dew. You're quite correct, and we'll pull off the road over here and then I'll show you. It's one of my favorite flowers out here in the bush, and the reason for this is because I suffer severely from hay fever and all types of allergies and things, and I tend to get itchy eyes quite often. It's quite frustrating. So something quite wonderful about this flower. Let's pick it up again. And I'm sure, and if you've started watching, you must keep an eye out for this one. It's really nice. So if you have a look, actually, David, let me put it down here so I can keep still. I forgot. So if you have a look over here, can you see there's a bit of a bulge in the flower? I'm going to turn it sideways so you can sort of see that? Move that back. A little bit of a bulge. Now what you can do is if you open that, watch as I even squeeze it. You should see up over here something coming out. Let me get that back so I can also see what I'm doing. Can you see that little drop of water starting to come out? Rah! You see that? There it is. Now that is incredible. This stuff inside this little flower, it is mainly water, but it has got antibacterial properties in it. So what you can do, and I've done it before, I had an insect fire into my eye on one occasion, and the other time my eyes were just very, very itchy from all the pollen that was in the air. And I found a couple of these, and I very carefully, with the help of my tracker, we squeezed this little droplet into my eye. And it actually gave some nice relief. It was really, really nice. It sort of cooled them down and stopped them from being as sort of itchy as they were. So that's quite nice to do. You can put that in your eyes, you can put it in your ears if you have a bit of an infection and you're out here. But I just think they're just such a lovely flower to look at. They're really pretty. Let's see if I don't know if we'll be able to get the drop. Have a closer look. There isn't really too much sort of liquid in this one. Oh, and I've broken it. But we will keep it because it's a lovely little flower. But let's carry on and see what else the bush has got to offer us this morning. And I think that James has found something white and fluffy and looks a little bit like a marshmallow.
Indeed I have, everybody. It seems to be that there's some egg yolk, egg albumin being whipped up and hung from a tree cryptically. Isn't it strange, Brian? So strange. Obviously I'm talking utter nonsense. This is, in fact, well, I suppose it might be considered egg albumin in some shape, way or form. This is the nest of the foam nest frog. Now, we very seldom actually get up to these things. I'm going to touch it. Are you ready, Brian? Do you think it'll swallow my hand?
Maybe.
Oh! Let me do it again. Oh! It's like plastic. It really is quite astoundingly like plastic. And in it, of course, the eggs of the foam nest frog. And shortly they will hatch and they will go plop down into the water here. Any luck? In fact, they might land over here on the mud and then flip into the water, where hopefully they will become new foam nest frogs. Of course, much like I was describing with the scorpions a little bit earlier, however, these are probably more R selectors than K selectors, which means that they make hundreds and hundreds of little tadpoles. Fewer than, say, 5% of them will make it to adulthood. But it's really quite a clever arrangement, this. It means the eggs are completely protected in there. They drop from here into the security of the water, into this murky water, where they probably have a much greater chance of surviving than if they didn't have that sort of security situation. Now, we're actually on the trail of some elephants at the moment, some fairly fresh elephant tracks that Herbert has found, and he's following just up ahead here. He thinks they may have seen us. Red, while we walk along here hoping to see some elephants, I've forgotten what an elephant looks like. Red, you say what happens to the nest after the tadpoles have hatched? Well, it just disintegrates eventually in the sun, but it does stay for a while after they've hatched, but eventually it just kind of degrades. It is very plasticky though, indeed. It's kind of, I mean, I would have liked to pull it off the tree and break it up, but obviously that wouldn't have been the most sensitive thing to do for the frogs. And so we didn't do that, but it's very plasticky indeed. Jennifer, you'd like to watch the frogs make the nest? Well, it's a very R-rated process. Of course, the female is there. There are 4 or 5 males trying to mate with her at the same time, and so it's probably quite R-rated and quite nerve-wracking to see. But as that's happening, of course, there is this huge kind of conflagration. Everybody has got fluids going all over the place, and through the process of the fighting of the males over the female and the mating, well, that nest is constructed, and into it will go the sperm and the eggs, and through that process the fertilization will take place, I think, within that nest. So yes, I would like to see it too. I've never seen it. I think it probably happens largely at night, you know. That's why frogs call at night. I think the chance of them being devoured by things are that much smaller if they're doing it at night rather than during the day. You can just see Herbie up front there, and we're hoping to just maybe get a glimpse of these elephants. He thinks maybe they've caught wind of us. I don't think they've caught wind, but they may have heard us coming, and that's possibly why they're moving in one line. They're not feeding as they go. So you can see a small herd of probably 4 or 5 walking in single file up towards this way. Now as we get into the thicker bush, we'll be a little bit more quiet. Herbert's stopped and he's listening. He's listened, and now we'll carry on moving forward. And it's ideal for him to be up front there where he is, simply because I'm obviously waffling away, stopping, looking at bits and pieces, talking. He doesn't need to have my voice in his ear while he's looking for the tracks, because his ears are, of course, one of the most important parts of his body when it comes to looking for animals out here. So we're going to walk a little bit more slowly as we go through the slightly thicker bush, fully aware that elephants could be feeding now when they get into this thick stuff. But you can maybe see from where we're walking some impala up ahead. I heard one snort. This is very clearly a game path, so it's a path that elephants would find easy to walk along. It's clearer than just straight through it's not a random path through the bush. We're going to go this way because there's some nasty ziziphus there that Brian will get caught in. Brian, of course, is about 7'5", and he's now caught on something that I didn't see. There we are. Thank you, Brian. Well done. Good job. Here we go. Let's carry on this way. And of course the inevitable question of danger comes up. Is it dangerous to track elephants? Well, it can be. If you behave like a yahoo, then it can certainly be dangerous. But if you're aware of how sensitive they are, well, then it's not particularly nerve-wracking. And if you keep your eyes and ears open. Sarah, you're wondering what the scariest thing to ever happen on bushwalk is. Well, for me, I think probably just coming across a buffalo very close by. I'm trying to think if I've had a particularly hairy bushwalk experience. Watch out here, Brian, you'll get caught for days. I mean, the closest I've been to a potentially dangerous animal on foot was with Brian when we were walking. This was before the days of Herbie, and we came across Karula, who was on a termite mound higher than this one, but she was, what, Brian, probably 3 or 4 meters away from us when we saw her, just watching us like this, as if to say, oh yeah, what do you guys want? So we just pretended not to see her, and we just walked away, and then we sat with her for a long time. So that was, I suppose, potentially a dangerous situation. But it's elephants and buffalo that are the things we look out for the most. It's buffalo who get a fright. They can be cantankerous when they get a fright. They're highly threatened. We haven't seen many buffalo around of late. So they would be things we watch out for. Elephant bulls in must, elephant cows with youngsters who are feeling threatened. So those are the things we watch out for. Again with Brian, I suppose this would be the scariest situation I've had on a bushwalk here. Was an elephant bull. No, in fact, sorry, there are 2 incidents. An elephant bull round about where we are now. We saw him, the wind changed, he smelt us, and then he decided to try and walk around the wind. So we immediately reorientated ourselves according to the wind so that he couldn't smell us, and we started walking, melting through the bush. It was with Steph on security at the time. And the elephant turned to try and find us in the wind, and so he started walking parallel with us, almost figuring out what we were trying to do. And once an elephant gets into a mood like that where they're trying to find you, it can be quite scary, because they are obviously very good at hearing things, very good at smelling things, and they're like a bloodhound. I mean, if they find your tracks and they want to find you, they will find you, and you have to move very quickly out of the area. So that can be quite nerve-wracking. And then again, this was also with Brian. It was with you, with the buffalo phalanx that came at us. We were walking back towards camp. Walk was over. There were 6 buffalo bulls sitting at the pan, at the Juma pan there. I mean, they must have been 100 meters from us. We came into into the open along the dam wall and figured, well, they can see us, so they're not going to react to us because we're not trying to hide, we're not behaving like predators. Well, as we came down off the dam wall into the clearings, they formed a phalanx. It was almost like boys in a locker room kind of geeing each other up before a game, before they're going to play football or before they're going to play rugby or something like that, and they got each other really riled, and then they got into a phalanx of 6 abreast, and they just started walking like this with their heads up and snorting at us, and we suddenly found ourselves in the open with nowhere to go because, we just assumed that they would carry on eating and lying in the water. There was no reason for them to come towards us. Anyway, so we had to beat a very hasty retreat. But that was probably the most nervous I've been on a bushwalk out here. All right, we're going to continue searching for the elephants, and as I was talking about bloodhounds, we have our own resident bloodhound, of course, with his spanky new haircut, Brent Leo Smith, and he's managed to find himself, well, what he found himself earlier.
Well, we said we were going to come look for the authority. The authority is snoozing very nicely under a little guarri bush. Now, if we have a closer look at his face, I didn't get a good look earlier, but now, if we come straight through, you can have a look. You can see the blower wound, and then that is a new wound that looks to be infected as well. Now, I wonder if there's a connection to the old wound. I'm not sure. Probably not, though. So I was incorrect earlier this morning. This is now I've had a proper good look at it. I actually think best access is probably going to be from the middle of Hyena Road, and I'll guide you in. You should see some off-road tracks heading to the west. Okay, sorry about that. Someone's trying to find us. We are deep in the bush, far from roads, with Mr. Informor. And I heard him calling last night, through the night, but he's been quite quiet this morning. He hasn't given us a throaty roar. And of course, I'm not sure where the other members of the coalition are. They could be spread out all over the place. There's a tired kitty. Hello, Leopold. Now, Leopold's wondering who is the most dominant coalition in the Kruger Park at the moment. Wow, I'm not 100% sure. Kruger Park is 8.5 million acres, or the Greater Kruger, but there will be many dominant coalitions of lions, just depending on whereabouts you are exactly. So, northern Sabi Sands, the Birmingham boys are dominant over most of it, and into the Kruger Park. Then in the western Sabi Sands, it's the Majinga lions. I think then in the southeastern Sabi Sands, it's the Sand River males. And then there's obviously multiple coalitions throughout the Kruger. But for us, our most dominant coalition is definitely the Birmingham boys. Oh, and just to the north, the Salati males. Now there's a report of Skybed males, another big coalition coming down from the Timbavati. Avoca males is another coalition that might move into this area when they're a bit older, but they will have to contend with the authority and his brethren if they do come down this far. That massive forepaw, about the size of a side plate. Oh, we can see all the biting flies hanging about even in this cool weather, buzzing around him. It's wonderful to spend time with any of the big cats, even when they are having a snooze. Remember, hashtag safariLIVE or questions at wildearth.tv if you've got any questions. Now, if there's anyone new, this is a Birmingham male lion. He's part of a coalition of 4 that control the northeastern side of the Sabi Sands, and they are currently the lords over 3 different prides of lions: the Styx, the Nkahumas, and the Torchwood Pride. They come from a farm called Birmingham in the Timbavati Game Reserve. That's where they get their name from. Now, Paul's asking, do we ever see white lions? Now, Paul, there's a possibility that these male lions might carry the white lion gene. The Timbavati Game Reserve is very famous for its white lions. It's one of the few places where that does have that recessive genetic. But for that to actually come through, you have to have both the male and female carrying that recessive gene to cause a double recessive to actually have white lions. So it seems to happen far more often in the Timbavati. In this area, not so much. I don't know. I've never heard of a white lion ever in the Sabi Sands, but in the Timbavati and in the Kruger around Singita Lebombo, there have been white lions in recent years, but I've never heard of one in the Sabi Sand. He looks like he's got his cat day planned out. He's going to snooze under the bushes here. I'm pretty sure we're going to find him in the exact same position on the sunset safari. Now, in certain parts of Africa, lions are very much under threat. We're quite lucky in this area that they're not. MS Sky is wondering what the population of lions in the Kruger is. It's very difficult to get an exact population, because you remember only about 2% of the Kruger is actually seen by people, and there are vast wilderness areas that the animals never see the people, apart from the odd anti-poaching patrol or scientific survey. I'd guess, and depending on what counts, there's anything from 1,000 to 2,000 lions in the greater Kruger. That is the estimate, and I know it's quite a wide estimate, but it is very difficult to be specific. As you must remember, a lot of those prides in the very rural areas will be very skittish. They'll run away from cars. They're not used to the vehicles like these lions here. And of course, different areas will have different densities based on the different prey availability. Krista in Oregon is wondering, why do the big cats let us get so close to them? Well, Krista, it's because we pose no threat to them. And these animals have grown up with vehicles. As long as you drive respectfully and carefully and do not push them or try chase them around, they are very, very relaxed. And a vehicle has only been around for 100 years or so, so they do not have an instinctive response to the vehicle. If you were to stand up, on the other hand, would not be a good idea. The lion would recognize the bipedal figure of man, the dominant diurnal predator, and either get aggressive or run away. And a vehicle also smells like diesel or petrol or oil, and so it doesn't really smell like anything edible or any threat. So as long as you keep your distance, or not keep your distance obviously, initially keep your distance and drive carefully and respectfully, you can get very close to these incredible animals. Okay, it sounds like someone is trying to get here. I can hear someone crashing through the bush. Now, while the authority sleeps underneath the Gwari bush, it seems like Commander Bond has got something that was probably caused by one of this creature's cousins, or if not itself.
Yes, indeed. I think it was caught by a lion. Everybody caught and eaten and ended its many years of existence on planet Earth at the claws, teeth, and generally foul table manners of a pride of lions. This was a buffalo, as many of you can see, and you will notice that it has had its nose bitten off and eaten. That's the soft bony bits there. I think lions quite like those. What I wanted to show you though mainly was its age. You can see that this fellow was not a youngster when he was eaten, and you know that because of this huge gap between his horns. There's a hole or a canal through the boss. This is the boss here on top, and the older the buffalo gets, the more that seems to split apart. He wasn't what one would describe as a buffalo of enormous width. He didn't have a hugely wide spacing between his horns, and if you happen to be part of the lunatic fringe that spends millions of dollars on buffalo because of the width of their horns, well, this chap would have been totally safe from you. That, amazingly enough, everybody, is how buffalo derive their value these days. So there are various breeding farms around the place where people can, basically, they breed buffalo for the width of their horns, a biologically completely meaningless measurement, but in human being terms, because we are, well, sometimes pretty gormless about life, that we attach value to. This chap, not a very wide spread, as they say. Good. Now, I don't think there's anything else to say about him, really, other than to look how far apart his bones have been spread, and his bones have been spread apart like this because probably there were hyenas that have come through. You'll find that most of the bones are missing. They would have been eaten by hyenas. The odd vertebra here and there. Porcupines will have come and grabbed them and taken them off in various directions. Badgers, and I suppose if you were to look all around here, you might eventually be able to find all of the vertebra. I doubt all of them would have been eaten. They're very hard. You might find the femur and the humerus, so the sort of forebones, the big, thick, tough top bones of both the limbs, so the humerus there and the femur from the back leg. You may find them around here, but otherwise everything over the course of time will have been eaten, and the rest will, believe it or not, eventually rot away. And you're wondering, I've lost the name now, was it, it wasn't Thelema, was it? Why, Courtney, I thought your name was Thelema. That's really odd. Yeah. Bizarre, in fact. Courtney, you're wondering about the grass, and you say it looks very green. When is it going to bring the buffalo back? Courtney, I think it's not so much about the greenness of the grass here, but the greenness of it everywhere else. Now, the Sabi sand, we're just going to walk slowly through here as we go. The Sabi sand is made up of two main vegetation or geology types. One is granite, and we're sitting on granite here. The other is Now, gabbro, for most of the year, is fairly unproductive from an animal point of view because the grass gets very long very quickly, and once grass gets long and it's formed the stalks and once the inflorescences live, it becomes fairly unnutritious. But the gabbros at this time of the year, when they have had rain, it's a black cotton soil, short grass on the gabbro plains is very nutritious, and so most of the buffalo and the zebra and the wildebeest and that sort of thing are up in the Mayoletti. That's Amber for you. We had a question from Amber earlier, I think. There we are, that's on a guarri bush. So we'll just help Brian to move past here. It's going to be a little tough getting through here, but we'll keep trying. So all the animals will be largely on those gabbro plains, and then once they're off the gabbro plains, once the gabbro starts to get the long grass, then you'll find there'll be a movement of animals up here. So that's one factor. The other factor is that we had lots of rain here to start with, comparatively very isolated rain here, no other rain in Sabi sand, and that concentrated all the animals here. Now there's been rain everywhere, so the animals have dispersed, coupled with the fact that this particular area has been slightly overgrazed as a result of the number of animals here. So that's the short answer to it, or the long answer to it, Courtney. The other gabbro plains you find are in the south of the Sabi sand, so I think that's where you're going to find most of the buffalo at the moment. And the gabbro plain is basically a lot more open than this, not much woodland, just going to be quiet. We're still on the elephant track, so Herbert is just wanting to have a little bit of time to listen to what's going on. So I will talk more quietly and we'll walk a little bit more slowly behind him. We don't want him to miss the cracking sound of an elephant feeding while I am waffling away about Gabbro Plains and such. Do we, Brian? No, we don't. So you can possibly hear the wind is blowing. And that does make it difficult to hear whatever it is we're tracking. And you can see we're moving through some pretty thick bush at the moment. And Herbie's just stopping. Every few steps he's stopping to listen. He reckons that these tracks are pretty fresh. Michael, you want to know about insect-eating plants. Do we have any in South Africa? Well, we have one, actually, and it lives in our camp, and it's a Venus flytrap bought by Connor Teagues, our drone commander. That's the only insect-eating plant that we have around here. But very few. I think there's one. There's one plant that makes I think it's called a funnel carrion plant or something like that. It doesn't grow here. And what it does is, unlike a Venus flytrap, it doesn't catch the fly. It makes a funnel into which sort of water sits, and water attracts insects. The insects go and try and drink the water. They can't get out of it again. And then the enzymes to digest that insect are in that water. And so I think we get those in South Africa somewhere. I remember learning about them at some stage, but I don't remember precisely which they were. Okay, wind is starting to blow, so we're going to keep going on these elephant tracks around the corner here and see if we can't find them in the next few minutes. Taylor has an update for you. I don't know what it is though.
If you look very carefully, you may be able to see the back, the white stripes, and of course the very big ears that are the obvious characteristics of some of the Inyala, not some Inyala. And there are a few of them around here. It looks like a very small family moving along the Mulwati, obviously having some breakfast. And there's a male somewhere too, but he seems to be hiding at the moment, so maybe he pops out. It blows my mind every single time I look at these incredible antelope and watch how dainty they are when they walk. It almost looks like they're tiptoeing around. And then I get the Pink Panther song in my head. No, that's the Addams Family. Sorry, I had the wrong song in my head there for a moment. And it comes the last one, dashing across the road. Kirsty, can you remember the tune to the Pink Panther? Or David, can you? Don't you think that goes with the? I think that's what those Inyala look like. Maybe wait. Let's see if we can see them again, and then we'll try it. They were going this way. Let's see if they pop out. I think it's going to be a little bit too thick for us to see. Oh, that's. Kirsty's not playing the Pink Panther song in my ear. Trash trumpets. Da-dum, da-dum, that's much better than me, Kirsty. Okay, well, the Inyala have now disappeared, so we'll have to try it when we find a couple more Inyala to have a look at. But, David, I thought, what about if we do a Christmas carol? What Christmas carol? Which one were we doing earlier? Was it Jingle Bells? Okay, we're going to whistle Jingle Bells. Are you ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. In a one-horse open sleigh. Hey! Yay! I think I need to start wearing my Christmas gear because I'm really getting in the festive spirit. The only thing, though, that we're missing is having the constant Christmas carols like what you hear when you go into the big malls. And I know when I was in the States at the end of November, beginning of December, they'd already started playing all the Christmas carols. So I'm glad it's not just South Africa that starts playing all that wonderful music so early in the year. So that was quite nice. But I hope you enjoyed the little Christmas carol that David and I did for you. And if you'd like any more requests, you're welcome to send them through. And well, we'll try our absolute best at whistling them because I cannot sing I'd like to sing, but I cannot sing very well at all. James will probably do better. I can just... What instrument did James say that I could play yesterday? We were talking about starting a band last night, and then I obviously jumped into the conversation like I normally do, and I asked James what instrument I could play. Oh, he said the trumpet. I think he said I could play the trumpet, but I'm not very musical, unfortunately, and well, it probably wouldn't sound very nice. I think VM would be a better option to do the trumpet, seeing as though he could do a mouth trumpet. Sounds very much like a real one. Now, oh, Herbie's calling us. Standing by, Herbert. We listen to. Negative so far, but I'll keep an eye out for you, and I'll let you know. Okay, copy. I'll keep an eye out. I'll drive slowly. So Herbie's just said that they're on Vulture's Nest, so they're just on the other side. And he says there were some elephant footprints crossing east, so we should probably keep an eye out over here. We'll have a little look around here. This is the best question of the whole morning. Thank you, Kevin. You're wanting to know if animals celebrate Christmas. I'm not sure, but I reckon we should get a couple of dung beetle sized hats made, and I think a dung beetle with a little Christmas hat on. Christmas. I think they just carry on like normal. I don't think they know any different. Maybe they just hear the horrid sounds of us all attempting to sing Christmas carols. I know probably dogs and cats that you have at home would maybe celebrate Christmas, that they're intelligent enough to realize that we repeat things over and over. So I'm also losing my concentration because I'm trying to find these elephants. I'm just desperate for any animals, anything. Please come out. I'm so sad. All right, I'm about to go into a very dodgy section. Let's very quickly go back across to Brent and Mr. Mfumo.
As you can see, not much movement here on the big cat front. Mr. Mfumo is very much a flat cat. As I say, I don't think he's going to move too much today. I think he's found his spot where he's going to rest up. Now, he's definitely the one we see the most on Juma. Him and Tinyo, the tooth. Nana and Untsuku, we don't see nearly as often. Oh, there we go. Head up. And head down. Oh, that was a very gentle letdown for a lion. They are so good at sleeping, even on a cool day where he could possibly be moving. I think he has moved quite a big distance overnight. Now, a lot of cats have retractable claws, and Corey in Massachusetts was wondering about that, and how does it work? Well, Corey, you are in luck, because I indeed know how it works. Where do the claws go, and what happens? So, fortunately for you, Corey, I have a lovely little diagram. So there we go. So it's basically two little ligaments. And you can see there. So they are named C. And you can see, so there's an extended claw and there's a retracted claw. So you can see there's that little ligament that's named C that pulls tight and the claws go in. I mean, sorry, that loosens and the claws go in, and they just slide into a little sheath. And then when that is extended or stretched, the claws come out. And you can see how the bottom shape of the pad changes when it does happen. So there we go. So when the ligament's at rest, the claws are inside. When the ligament is in use and stretched, the claws are outside, or extended rather than stretched. So that's Corey. Hopefully that helps you with how a lion or even your domestic cat at home's claws work. Now at the moment, Mr. Mfumo's claws will be definitely retracted, so inside. Oh, very noisy African cuckoo calling there. Cuckoo. Now, if we have a look at his nose, there we go. Oh. Sorry, I just got to be on the game drive. My tracks of this animal come from Twin Dams, then to Vuatila, and then northeast from there. So we can see that new wound just below his eye. Can you zoom in on it a little bit more there, please, Rian? You can see the flies already on the wound. There we go. Now that's how the problems start when they lay their eggs. Hi, Lale in Washington. Lale wants to know, will the maggots be good for cleaning up the wound? Oh, it all depends. Sometimes they can be quite bad. They do cause infection depending on the species. But yes, sometimes the maggots can eat away the rotten flesh, which helps with infection. But there are certain maggot species as well that will eat living flesh. And those are the ones that are not so good to have in your face. Or actually any part of your body. Now it's amazing how these cats can go from almost exactly flat to the ground, and the slightest noise or smell or something that stimulates them can send them leaping into action, and from 0 to 60 in no time. We're going to sit here with Mr. Mfumo. I'm hoping, because of this cool drizzly weather, he might give us a roar. I don't think so, though. It's very much wishful thinking. But it sounds like Taylor's got some acting to do for you. I'm quite interested to see what it is.
Right, I'm up on a tree. I need to come down before I show you why, because I have to move the vehicle very quickly. So let's move the vehicle and then we'll try again. Let's just quickly do some exercises. Okay, let me move off the road and we'll try this again. There's just a vehicle that's behind us, and well, I decided to park in the middle of the road, so we'll let them go past very quickly. David, we're gonna have to do the whole thing again. We'll let them come past us. Now we wait for them to come past us. Then I shall reverse back to exactly where we are, and we will start the entire thing again. Hello! They're looking at me like I'm a bit weird. It's not the first time I've had that look though in my life. It's fine. Right. David, is that fine? Right, let's try this again. Now you're going to see the reenactment. Okay. Up we go again. Now, we have to go up the tree. I'm already unbalanced and I'm not even up it yet. No, I'm just joking. It's not so bad. It's a bit windy up here. You'd think I would have been better at balancing. Apparently I'm not. Now, if you didn't watch yesterday afternoon on the Sunset Safari, this is what Karula was doing. Not Karula. What am I talking about? I mean to say Shadow. I don't know. I obviously didn't wake up, but Shadow was beautifully standing up, and it's actually quite amazing what you can see from up here. I can definitely see a lot more. Now, there's actually something that I want to show you. Boom! Over here. Exhibit A. Can you see how this marula tree has been rubbed? I'm going to pick up a little piece. And it looks like, it's not very high, you can see it's sort of a couple of feet off the ground, not very much though. It looks as though something like a buffalo, I think it would be a buffalo, has come through here, has actually come up with his horns and gone much harder though, of course, and covered his horns nicely, maybe sharpened the tip of them. You always see they always put like a little bit of decoration on the top of their horns. It's quite nice. Normally they do it with the tambuti trees, but a marula tree unfortunately does not quite have the same effect. And it's not very fresh. From over there it was quite deceiving. It actually looked like it had probably just been done, but it hasn't. David, have a feel. Dry.
Very dry.
Not very moist, and you know that when you open up a marula tree there is quite a bit of moisture in there as well. So when this would have happened, this would have been quite wet and quite fresh, and that's how you know, well, it would have been fresh. But sadly it's not fresh, and well, this probably happened quite some time ago. So we'll get rid of that. Sorry David, I made the vehicle dirty, and we will jump back in and see what else is digging around here. What have we got here? We've got lots of ants. I don't know if you can see the ants, David. They are running around here. Can you see them? Tiny little black ants. I have no idea what type of ant they are. They're carrying a couple of them down here, which I think will be a little bit difficult for you to see, are carrying a bit of building material. But this is a termite mound that they're on. So maybe they've got their nest somewhere else. Maybe they're coming through to raid to see if they can pick up on anything. Maybe scraps of food. But no termites. Just a couple of ants. Wonder where their nest is. Nope. Not around here. They've obviously travelled a far distance to get here. Right, up we go. Let's plug myself back in. Haha. There we go. Now. Right. We're going to carry on like we've been doing the entire morning, looking for all these fascinating creatures. But I think James has got one of the slower creatures that move around in the bush.
It is very soporific watching a snail move, everyone. It makes one go to sleep. But I've woken now. I was going to do some astounding sort of speech on how dangerous it was for Brian to be where he is. And that cracking of branches you may have heard just behind us was Herbert falling off a tree. He's okay, don't worry. What I think this most marvellous thing about the snail is, of course, we've spoken extensively over the last few days about the eye stalks and the little sensory antenna that come out of its mouth. But what is astounding about it to me is its mouth parts. Now, what it uses to eat is something called a radula. and it's just sort of beyond those sort of prehensile lips of it that it has. And a radula is used to eat things like it's walking over now, that sort of dead plant material, and it's a tongue with teeth on it. It's a little bit like a chainsaw, so it moves around and around, and those teeth, as the tongue moves round and round, take off bits and pieces that it wants to eat, and then it swallows them, obviously, and does what snails do with the rest of it, digests it and gets rid of it out the other end. But it is quite an astounding arrangement. So if you think of a chainsaw, or a chain with teeth on it, moving on a sort of conveyor, continuous conveyor belt, that's what the radula looks like. Now, Brian is going to reposition because the snail has moved so very far and so very fast. So he's going to come round to this end. Hello, Brian.
Hello.
Well done. Oh! The reason I exclaimed profoundly there was that we're not alone here with a giant land snail. Remember I said to you earlier on, everywhere you stop there's a whole lot of stuff going on. I will bring into picture for you what made me exclaim slightly there. Did you see that, Brian?
Okay.
Isn't that amazing? It is a grasshopper of some sort. It is green, and that's all I can tell you about it. I can also probably tell you vaguely its age. It's an adult because it has wings. The youngsters or the hoppers do not have wings. And I don't know if you've been watching that Planet Earth 2 series. I'm not sure if it's come out where you happen to be in the world. But the desert episode, which I think is episode 4, talks about these swarms of animals, and they become locusts when they swarm, and it's when they are in this stage, this adult stage with wings, that they become quite so terrifying. Go and have a look. If you haven't seen it, really go and have a look at it. It's quite astounding what a locust or a grasshopper becomes if given half a chance. Right, back on. Oh, we've got another one here. We'll move on to the snail again, who seems to have taken exception to the grasshopper and is now moving towards him at a terrifying rate. Brian, this could be the greatest action safariLIVE has ever witnessed. Forget Tingana pulling a warthog out of its burrow. Oh, here we go. Forget Karula's babies. Forget the Birmingham boys fighting, or the Nkuhumas killing a buffalo. We're about to see contact between a snail and a grasshopper. They've made contact. The grasshopper pretending to be dead. The snail putting its tongue, at least its eye, back into its socket telescopically, now wrapping it over the top of the grasshopper. What is going to happen here, Brian? I can barely breathe. Nothing. The snail has decided that the grasshopper is inedible and is therefore moving on over some bare and slightly stony ground recently moistened by the rain of a few days ago. Marvelous. Go, snail, go. And I'm sure you were all very nervous by what we just witnessed there, the possible conflict between, well, mollusk and insect. But in this case, something of a damp squib. Not much of a fight at all. The grasshopper still pretending to be grass at this stage. Well, Maria, yes, indeed. Perhaps you're talking to us from Gay Paris. You say, are these snails able to be eaten? Well, absolutely. Ooh, it's rounding on the grasshopper again. Marie, they are edible, and some local people eat them here. I think much like sort of your garden variety French escargot, they taste like whatever you cook them in, with the consistency of snot. So I think that's probably what they are like, but they're certainly edible. And they're quite long-lived too, you know. They live for about 10 years. Really very special. And they lay on, I mean, if you think about how they grow, they lay on an astounding Or they lay on the layers in an astounding fashion, and the spiral. I mean, they start off as very minute animals, and slowly the spiral of the shell expands and expands as the body expands within it. And I think it was Jamie using the term the Fibonacci spiral the other day. Chris, you say that you think I am sensationalizing the sighting. Chris, I don't know why on earth you'd say that. Brian, do you think I'm sensationalizing the sighting? I mean, Chris, we're witnessing something quite astounding here. Yes, Chris, I am completely sensationalizing the sighting. I quite enjoy doing that with an animal like this because it is obviously so deeply slow moving. Isn't it amazing, though? Those telescopic eyes, and by telescopic I mean they fold in on themselves, so that eye stalk will fold completely in, just like an antenna on an old TV set or radio, and then kind of unfold itself. No, Brian, they cannot. You say, can snails live without the shell? Definitely not, Brian. They need that shell to stop them drying out, to protect them from predators. And what they do in the wintertime, or any time it's dry, they'll fold up into the shell, they'll cover themselves in, well, pretty much the sand that this one is crawling on now, which stops the water evaporating and desiccating them. But they have to have that shell to survive. Without it, they wouldn't get close to surviving, I'm afraid. So by desiccating, of course, I mean drying out. Fascinating, fascinating stuff. How an animal like this doesn't get eaten by every passing bird, I just cannot imagine. It has no way to defend itself. And I mean, the shell, while it's okay against perhaps a sparrow or something like that, which wouldn't eat one anyway, I mean, any bird that really wanted to eat it would just have to peck once or twice and it would crack open. So maybe they've got something in them that's slightly toxic to birds. But for a snail to have got this old without being eaten, I just think is absolutely astounding. Whether it's actually eating anything now or just exploring, I don't know. Alrighty, let's move on from our giant land snail. We gave up on the elephants, I'm afraid. They were still walking in single file in an easterly direction, so I think almost impossible to try and catch them at this stage. Brent Leo Smith is not too far from us. He's up sort of to the north behind me, where in the direction my feet are pointing, and he is still with the Flat Cat Authority.
And flat indeed is the cat. Mr. Mfumo has not moved a muscle. He has not even lifted his ears or lifted his head. And it is always wonderful. Oh, there we go. He moved ever so slightly, but it was an inch of movement. Now, I was hoping he might get up, might do something before the end of the safari. It doesn't look like it, but at least we know where he is. I'm just waiting for Mike to get here. I don't think he'll find him without our help, so I'm just standing by till he gets a bit closer, and then we'll see if we can find some other fascinating thing before the end of this safari. Now, Majid's wondering, how long can lions survive without water? Majid, they actually are not water dependent. They can survive their whole lives without water as long as they kill enough, and they'll get their moisture from the blood that they consume. But normally, it's much better to drink water, and if water's available, lions will drink. That's a very tired kitty. I can see that wound It'll be interesting to see if that one's also full of maggots already, or is it just swelling and it'll go down without too much fuss. Oh, sorry. 1 second. Mike, confirm, have you found those tracks yet? Seems like young Michael is lost. Star Wars says that he's dreaming of herds of wildebeest and lionesses. The lion, of course, not young Michael from Cheetah Plains. And he does look like he might be dreaming a little bit. There we go, a little ear flick. That's to keep the biting flies at bay. But hopefully he'll be up and at him on the sunset safari. Now, speaking of young Michael, I'm going to try help him get in here. And we're going to leave this boy sleeping. I don't think he's going to move an inch today. So we're going to say goodbye to Mfumo, and we'll see you on the sunset safari, Mr. Lion. So while we move out of this area and hopefully find some other fascinating creatures, let's go see what Taylor's up to.
We are in the Mulwati, driving around looking for anything that wants to be seen. David, are you ready to go under the archway?
Right, we're live. Leo Smith is just up here, and I've actually just found you quite an interesting grass. I say quite interesting. It's not the most astounding grass in the world, but it does have quite an interesting defensive mechanism. It's called Eragrostis gummiflua. Now, gummiflua doesn't make reference to its desirability to gummy bears. No, rather to the gummy nature of the nodes. So it's very sticky there. Now, if you watch very carefully on my fingers, you may see a little bit of glue coming off. Can you see that at all, Brian? Not really. Let's try another one. Let's try it on here. There we go. See that? Mm-hmm. Now, this Eragrostis gummiflua grows in a sort of ecotone or seepline areas. I lost my words there for a second. And we think what this protects the plant from is ants getting up here and eating the seeds. So the seeds are probably wind dispersed. They're very, very small seeds and probably very desirable to ants. And so an ant would climb up this grass stalk like this, grab one of the, or try to get stuck on the gum, and then probably turn around and come back. So we think that's why they have these sort of this completely unique adaptation. Cool. Eragrostis gummiflua. The other thing I have in my hand, a rather bedraggled looking lilac-breasted roller feather. Do you see it spinning? Are you becoming hypnotized? Mary, you say, do we have any wild roses here? No, we don't. I don't know where roses come from, Mary. I would love to know. Roses are some of my most favourite flowers. Of course, my mother loves to grow roses, or she used to. I was going to give this to Herbert. He seemed quite interested in it. You can touch the... Herbie's just having a snack of white berries there. Mary, roses, yeah, we don't have wild roses here at all, and I'd love to know, maybe you can do some research for me on account of the fact that, well, I don't have the internet with me right now. Where do they come from? What is their origin? I'm going to assume that it's somewhere around the Middle East that they come from, but they don't grow around here wild. No. They grow very well in South Africa, up on the Highveld, where there's quite a lot of rain and it gets cold in winter. In Bloemfontein and Johannesburg specifically, I know they grow really well. And my poor mother, I'm afraid, only got 4 roses at the moment. She lives at the coast where the wind blows and it never gets very cold. And roses don't like that very much. That is all I have to say about roses. Brian, do you have anything to say about roses? No. And then the other thing I did want to share with you, on the count of the fact that Taylor had been talking about how she's missing, and I quote here, I think, the Christmas songs from malls. Now, I don't know about you, but I find the Christmas songs that they play in malls almost universally offensive. The Boney M's Christmas should have been consigned to the scrap heap of history in 1978 when it came out. The jazzed up or sold up versions of things like Jingle Bells, also scrap heap of history. Along with along with the perm. We don't do perm. Nobody perms their hair anymore for good reason. We just don't do that anymore. It's not done. And those sorts of things, I think, should disappear along with the scrap heap. Watch out, Brian. Phew. We made it. I think it is. I think we managed to get around it without disturbing it. Phew. Anyway, yes, so I don't miss the Christmas thing from the malls. I do miss, I guess, getting into the Christmas spirit before it happens. But on account of that, we've been playing lots of Christmas songs in camp. Christmas songs that are, well, I just think a little bit more Christmassy than Boney M. Horrible stuff. Okay, let's carry on. Let's try and find something of biological note to show you or tell you before I get too into my irritated rant on the general state of Christmas music. Right, Josh, I thought I saw a flower here that we hadn't shown you today, but I didn't. Josh, you want to know about the... Careful, Josh. Josh, you want to know about the TV safaris and when they're going to begin? I can indeed tell you when they're going to begin. They are going to begin on the very first day of the year, if you happen to live in America, which of course you'll have to be if you're watching the TV show, at 10 o'clock in the evening Eastern Standard Time. So that will be on the first, Sunday the 1st of January 2017. That's what I said, 2017. At 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, that's in the evening. It'll be for 2 hours, and every Sunday for 8 weeks thereafter, which is very exciting for all of us. And to those of you who don't live in the Americas, well, you'll just be able to watch it on the internet for free. Hello, you rather special fellow. This is a rain locust, also known as, in fact, it's not a rain locust, it's one of those crested locusts. Isn't he fantastic? And he's looking me in the eye. Brian, I imagine your picture there is quite amazing. And I think, if I was to guess, I would say this is probably a female on account of her size. And on account of the fact that she's got quite a long back end, which I think is probably used to deposit eggs. She's being passed by now by a drop-tailed ant. And the sound of Brent Leo Smith being amusing by pretending to run me over is now deeply in my ears. Hello, Brent.
Hi, Dan.
Brent saying hello, everybody. We're looking at a locust, Brent. A bladder hopper. I thought it was a crested locust.
I'm looking at it from quite far.
Yes, you are looking at it from quite far, but maybe they are synonymous with each other. He's moving, Brian. Be very careful. I think I should try and take a picture of him. Look how he's trying to move slowly without Brian noticing him. All right, let's take a picture. Brian, do you think he's going to fly? Shall I slow-mo him? I don't think he can fly, he hasn't any wings.
Try to hop away.
Come, hop. Hop. I'm filming you in slow motion. Hop. Hop. No, won't hop. Just, okay, now what's quite interesting here, apart from being completely ridiculous, that movement it's doing, that kind of swaying motion, that's really very interesting, because what it does is that it seems to be some kind of movement like a leaf. Chameleons do it as well, and I think it's some kind of distractor to predators. So when it turns around like that and sways like a leaf blowing in the wind, I think it's possible that it tells, might confuse the odd predator. And interestingly, that something like a chameleon, which is of course a vertebrate, adopts the same strategy. Isn't that amazing? Not related at all. An example of perhaps convergent evolution. Where two animals completely unrelated to each other have evolved the same strategy to either take advantage of some sort of niche or, in this case, avoid predation. Cool. Bobbing its head up and down. Very, very cool. Brian, drop us a beat. Here goes the grasshopper on the end. It's going to have its breakfast now, and so are we. We're going to say goodbye to you and hand you to the Brent, and we will see you in the afternoon just now. Bye-bye.
Now, for our closing, I've actually discussed with Final Control, and because James is going to be on leave for Christmas, we want you to help us give James a Christmas present. James, come here. Come hither. So what we want you to do is on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook is tag James Henry in every Boney M Christmas song. That is what we want to do for James Henry at Christmas. So that is what we want to do, because he's not going to be with us here in the bush. We want you to tag James Henry in every Boney M Christmas song, and remember to also put the hashtag safariLIVE, and I will sit in the bush during Christmas and actually have a wonderful laugh. I almost wish we could have a camera to see James as he logs onto his Facebook.
Social media.
But anyway, we're going to say goodbye. I think we might offer the Bushwalk chaps a lift home. And while we give them a lift home, let's go back to Taylor so she can say goodbye and close off the show.
Bye.
I thought that we better pop past the hardy-dar nest to see how the little chicks are doing. And it seems as though there's only one chick up in that big nest. I went the other way around and I had a look, and I couldn't quite see them. Now, I want to show you something while this little... Oh, no, there's the second one. There's another one there, squashed underneath its sibling. Maybe all three are around. But if you have a look on its face, can you see that there's a tiny little white streak on its cheek? And I'm sure you can faintly see that. Now, this is quite exciting. I think that these chicks are older than what we think, because I've read that they only get that white streak on their cheek when they get to about 25 and 27 days old. So these guys, you can see they're fully feathered now. They must be almost ready to fledge. I reckon in probably the next week or so, they're going to take some dives down and start working their way down to the floor, where they'll hop around, but they'll still be fed by the adults. But I think it's lovely. I hope all three are there. I can just see the two. I was a bit worried earlier. And you'll be surprised, hardy-dars actually have quite a good success rate at raising their chicks. I believe that the statistic is on about 73% for the success rate of hardy-dar chicks, which is wonderful. But they can, of course, the little ones can die of starvation, and it is also quite common for the chicks to get a little bit too brave and then sort of fall out of the nest. I remember as a young girl, and I've told the hardy-dar story before, when my best friend's mother found the hardy-dar chick on the ground, but I found many little chicks, from weavers to barbets and all sorts of things. I think the barbets were the most recent one, the chicks that we found out on the ground. Sadly, we're down to the final seconds of the show, but it's been absolutely wonderful, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Remember, we'll be back on air again this afternoon for the Sunset Safari, so thank you to everybody behind the scenes, all the lovely ladies in Final Control, sipping away on their nice coffee in their air-conditioned room. But we get it better out here. We get to see everything. But we will, like I said, we'll see you a little bit later from myself and David. Have a wonderful afternoon and morning. We'll catch you a little bit later.